In a world drowning in noise, where truth is often buried beneath layers of propaganda and misinformation, there's a need for a different kind of a network of creators that cuts through the clutter, that doesn't shy away from tough topics, and that delivers the unfiltered truth. We are Trim Radio Network. We are creators, we are innovators, we are investigators. We're the ones who aren't afraid to call a spade a spade. If you're ready to participate in thought-provoking discussions, informational topics, and of course today's biggest headlines, subscribe to our YouTube channel today. We're Trim Radio Network. We're cutting the bull and serving the truth.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Now, from the northeast quadrant of the United States, it's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla. Saturday nights from 9 p.m. Eastern until midnight on the Trim Radio Network. You can join the conversation in any of our chat rooms. And now, without further ado, your host, Riscalla.
All right, well, hello and welcome everyone. It is a Red Pill Reality Show, and again, I am caught with my pants down. You son of a gun. I thought we fixed that already. Goodness gracious. Well, so I signed on tonight. I typically sign on about half an hour before the show to the platform, and I see the camera's not working again. I'll fix that in a second. Anyway, I usually sign on about half an hour before the show comes on. I'm getting that feedback again. And I do my dry runs. And to my surprise tonight, the entire platform has been rearranged. So it's like I'm learning it all over. I no sooner than I get the hang of it or start to get the hang of it, they change it and I have to learn it all over again. But anyway, welcome. And tonight I'm going to have Blu Crystalline Phoenix with me. And I hope she's going to be on with me. I sent her an invite. And if you've never heard her before, you are in for a treat. She is one exceptionally, I don't know how to word it where it comes out, even giving her any kind of credit. The language that you hear from her will be from another planet. It may be English, but the words and phrases and the way she expresses herself, it is quite the thing to listen to. So I don't know. I'm getting some weird stuff happening here. They're trying to improve the platform, which one of the things I'm grateful for is I had mentioned before that we didn't have, had no idea of how much volume was going out over the air. And they added that to it, which helped. And I guess they're just trying to make things a little easier, but they don't realize that, you know, for people like me, it takes me a while to get the hang of all of this stuff. It's like learning it all over again. All right, so let me get down to business here because I'm going to bring her on shortly. A lot of things I want to talk about. Let me get back over to where I'm supposed to be. So last couple of weeks, actually, I mentioned the 9/11 thing. I said, there's no planes. We're 9/11. I got cursed out. I got a couple of nasty emails. And when people hear things like that, it's like so far beyond. The lie is so wide and vast and broad that it causes, a lot of times, it causes an anger reaction, So anyway, I found a video that does show, gives you some evidence of what I'm talking about. And I found two of them, actually, so I'm going to play one for you right now.
But the second impossibility is in plain sight. In fact, I can't believe it took me over 12 years to see. Let me show you a still of this video. I've highlighted a building that's clearly behind the South World Trade Center tower. Yet when we pay close attention to the video, Flight 175's wing should appear in front of the building, not behind it. This is a layering CGI glitch, and this proves that this video, which was seen all over the world, over and over and over again, year after year, is a CGI rendering. Thus, it's not an amateur witness video. It's a fake. And this is one of many, many faked videos put out by the news media.
All right, so that's one. Why is this camera not coming on? All right, I'll get to that in a second. So that's one of them. I'll show you another one. Let's see if I have it set up. Yeah. And it's just these were broadcast over, mainstream media. This is all stuff coming from mainstream media. They changed all my stuff on me. Okay. Let's see if that works. Oh my goodness. So I'm gonna try it. No, that's not it. So they've and like I said earlier, they changed some things around, so I'm not sure why. Let's try that again. And I love it. This is come on now. Yeah. I don't know why it's doing that. All right, well, I don't have I guess I can't bring the other one on because it's not cooperating. Let's try it again. Is that it? I don't know. Okay, so if you look, this is Chopper 5 from Fox News out of New Jersey. I'm going to stop the video so you can see what I'm talking about. What you're about to see is physically impossible.
As you look at the picture from our chopper now arriving at the scene,
turn it down a little bit.
Jim Friedel in Hoboken said it appeared to bank sharply and smash directly, perhaps.
Okay, now pay attention to the opposite side of where the aircraft is entering. That right there is impossible. I don't know what the dimensions of the building are, but the outside of the building was reinforced steel with concrete. So and the middle of the building was 47 columns of concrete reinforced steel. So what you're seeing is an aircraft entering one side of the building and then going out the other, and then they go, oops, we messed up. Now watch what happens. I'm going to back it up. When they realize they have messed up, they cut away immediately.
Sharply and smash directly, perhaps purposefully.
See that? They cut that. They tried to cut that part out, but a lot of people caught it. And what you're seeing is physically impossible. They're saying this. They're showing you that the aircraft has entered the building from one end and then literally starting to come out the other end. Okay, there are so many. Let me see if I can do it again here. The aircraft is made out of aluminum. The building is reinforced steel with concrete. Obviously, the hardest component of the aircraft itself is in the engines, which is titanium. So if anything were to it's impossible, but if anything were to be able to go through that, it would have been something to do with the engines. Well, what you're seeing come out the other end is definitely not an engine. Looks like the front of the aircraft. The front of the aircraft.
As you look at the picture from our chopper now arriving at the scene.
I'm going to cut that out.
Jim Friedel in Hoboken.
The front of the aircraft is made out of fiberglass. Fiberglass. The stuff the boats are made out of. Watch. As soon as it comes out the other side, they cut away. You see that? They couldn't get it quick enough. I think what was happening is that this was all like under an automated system, like an AI. Boom. That's fake. So for those of you who have, the camera's off again. For those of you who have argued with me about, there we go. No planes. No planes. If they saw something, if people saw something, it was more than likely a hologram. And my suspicion is it could have been a hologram with a missile hiding inside the hologram. But I can tell you there was no planes because of the nature of the way the aircraft just.
But the second impossibility is in plain sight. In fact, I can't believe it took me over 12 years to see. Let me show you a still of this video. I've highlighted a building that's clearly behind the South World Trade Center tower. Yet when we pay close attention to the video, Flight 175's wing should appear in front of the building, not behind it. This is a layering CGI glitch, and this proves that this video, which was seen all over the world, over and over and over again, year after year, is a CGI rendering. Thus, it's not an amateur witness video. It's
did it again. Also, if many of you may remember, when they were talking about the aircraft that were hitting the building, they were a strange gray color. They weren't painted like a regular aircraft. One lady who said that she said it looked like a military, it had a gray color to it, like a military aircraft. Again, you make up your own minds, but I think I presented evidence to show you that we were clearly, people who have anything going on upstairs know that we've been lied to repeatedly. We were clearly lied to. We were clearly lied to about this. So one of the other things that I've been talking about is what happened in Texas was a manipulation of the weather. Do I have that one? So it was a manipulation of the weather, and I think what they were intending to do, I want to give them credit. I think they were trying to do something good, but it got out of hand, and because it got out of hand, it can't find it. Maybe no. Because it got out of hand, we saw what happened with all the deaths and everything. Why can't I?
Was the Texas flooding a natural event? I'm not so sure. There are at least 27 deceased and 20 girls missing after the Guadalupe River unexpectedly surged 26 feet in under an hour in the middle of the night, triggering an unusually catastrophic flash flood that gave nobody any warning. Mainstream media says it was a freak natural disaster. Intense rain, steep terrain, climate change, and bad luck. But they're ignoring one critical detail. The storm didn't move. It stayed parked over the same area for nearly 22 hours. Any storm parked in a single area for that long would cause significant damage like this. Check this out. I run a radar show on my website, arianamasters.com, where I review tower and trail activity every single day. And look at what I found for my July 3rd show. Radar from July 3rd shows a circular storm cell spinning in place from 8 p.m. Central to almost 8 p.m. yesterday evening on the 4th, with continual rain persisting in the aftermath. At the same time, wind data shows something striking: a total dead zone over central Texas, while normal air currents flowed freely around it. So the question is, what kept the storm from moving? Now here's the science Plain and simple, storms are powered by low-pressure systems that suck in air and moisture. These systems normally travel across regions with the help of jet streams or other large-scale winds. But high-pressure zones do the opposite. They push air outward and block storms from entering. A storm trying to enter a high-pressure zone is like a canoe trying to paddle a boat upstream into a powerful current. So here's where it gets interesting. Technology like can heat the atmosphere using microwave or radio frequency pulses. And when you heat a column of air, it becomes denser, forming an artificial high pressure zone. If you theoretically did this around the edges of a storm system, you could trap it. And if I were headed, I'd say this is possibly what happened over Texas yesterday. Radar shows ring-shaped emissions around the storm course stayed locked with its edges flared, a known side effect of pressure containment. Wind patterns confirm the storm was surrounded by still air, like a bubble. Climate change wouldn't lock a storm in place for nearly 22 hours, but microwave-induced high pressure can. Look, with 27 dead and dozens of children still missing, we deserve answers. We deserve to know the full truth about what happened over Texas, Lake Tahoe, the Carolinas, and so many other places. Ask why the storm never moved. Ask who controls the towers. Ask why we saw blue rain in Texas and California just before we all started seeing haze everywhere. Ask why 95% of the trails in the continental U.S. stopped the day of the Iranian missile strike and on the days following U.S. aid being cut.
All right, so I've got another one. I'm trying to find this one particular one. Let me see if this is
Just 2 days before this biblical deluge, Augustus Dorico, a 25-year-old tech bro and Teal fellow, was reportedly cloud seeding over Texas with his weather-modifying startup, Rainmaker. Dorico played God with the skies and Texans' lives.
My name is Augustus Dorico. I'm the CEO and founder of Rainmaker. We're a cloud seeding company that is enhancing precipitation via advanced radar and also drones for the sake of supplementing water supplies for farms, cities, reservoirs, and wildlife throughout the United States. Cloud seeding is conventionally done with a chemical called silver iodide. Its LD50, so its lethal dose, is 10 times higher than aspirin. And we're using about 50 grams per each operation. That's as much as can fit in the palm of your hand, right? That's less flour than is in a slice of bread. So the amount that accumulates into watersheds is in the parts per trillion after decades of operation, and we have data to prove that from programs that exist throughout the United States.
So Colorado and California, Texas and Idaho, they all have weather modification programs that the state funds.
How long have they had those programs?
So cloud seeding was invented in the United States. It's an American technology that was done for the first time in New York in 1946. So the very first effective weather modification operations were done in the 40s, after World War II. Then there have been a series of programs that have popped up either domestically or abroad in the decades in between. But we've never actually been able to prove that it works until 2017.
Why is Teal's money funding private weather experiments? Why is a kid with zero oversight manipulating Texas weather? They call it stewarding nature, but Texas got a catastrophic flood that killed dozens, swept away homes, and left Camp Mystic horrendously ravaged.
There are currently 42 cloud seeding projects across the American West, like this one in Utah, where they take planes like this with flares attached. They fly right into the storm and send microscopic particles into the cloud. Particles that act like magnets for water droplets, bonding together until they are heavy enough to fall to the ground as rain or snow.
In 2017, the UAE performed 242 cloud seeding operations. The government is confident the operations are increasing the amount of rainfall, but it's difficult to gauge.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene introduced a bill to ban weather control and geoengineering, making it a felony to inject chemicals to alter weather, temperature, or sunlight. Over 30 states have passed or are pushing laws to restrict these shady practices in the last year, with Tennessee banning geoengineering outright in 2024. While Health and Human Services head Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is also on the warpath, investigating DARPA for allegedly running secret weather control ops across North America.
bromium, aluminum, strontium. It's sprayed in our skies all day long. And I know you've talked to Dane Wigington about this. He seems to be one of the experts in the field.
Is there a question?
Yes. How do we stop it?
It's done, we think, by DARPA, and a lot of it now is coming out of the jet fuel.
Yes, sir.
You know, those materials are put in jet fuel. I'm going to do everything in my power to stop it.
This trend of devastation has targeted smart city planned areas across the nation, from Maui to the Pacific Palisades to Kerrville itself. The American people deserve answers, not chemtrails and cover-ups. And as the skies clear, it becomes abundantly obvious this storm is far from over. John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
So you can clearly see that the manipulation is pretty evident. It's pretty hard to hide it. And one of the other things I wanted to share with you tonight, before we get on with Blue, because we'll have Blue on here in just a few minutes.
As a result, I tasked my team at EPA to compile a list of everything we know about contrails and geoengineering for the purpose of releasing it to you now publicly. In other words, I want you to know everything I know about these topics, and without any exception. Instead of simply dismissing these questions and concerns as baseless conspiracies, we're meeting them head on. We did the legwork, looked at the science, consulted agency experts, and pulled in relevant outside information to put these online resources together. Everything we know about contrails to solar geoengineering will be in there. That means that anyone who reads through this information will know as much about these topics as I do as EPA administrator. To anyone who's ever looked up to the streaks in the sky and asked, what the heck is going on? Or seen headlines about private actors and even governments looking to blot out the sun in the name of stopping global warming? We've endeavored to answer all of your questions at the links on your screen. In fact, EPA shares many of the same concerns when it comes to potential threats to human health and the environment, especially from solar geoengineering activities. The enthusiasm for experiments that would pump pollutants into the high atmosphere has set off alarm bells here at the Trump EPA. Prior to now, EPA has never been this proactive to raise awareness about concerns with geoengineering and to stop this activity from being scaled up. This is what it looks like when government actually listens to the will of the people and doesn't try to squash it. You can always trust this administration and this EPA to take your concerns seriously, answer your questions honestly, and carry out the will of voters with integrity.
I sure hope so. I want to give them the credit. I hope so. I don't know. We've been steered in all kinds of directions. And I had a couple of people asking me about the Epstein flight log, if I could find any info. I did find a video that says a little bit about it. I've got a couple of more minutes. Found a video that says a little bit about it. So those of you who are interested in the Epstein flight log, here you go.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here's a list of names from the Epstein flight logs.
All right, these are the people that were on Epstein Island, confirmed by multiple sources. Bill Clinton, George Mitchell, Alex Baldwin, Ralph Fiennes, George Hamilton, Dustin Hoffman, Kevin Spacey, Liz Hurley, Laura Hutton, Janice Dixon, Naomi Campbell, Christy Turlington, Henry Kissinger, which may be one of the most evil men on the world.
He is, yeah.
Joan Rivers, Courtney Love, Mick Jagger, Courtney Guest, Phil Collins, Simon Le Bon, Charlie Rose of PBS, Richard Branson, Candace Bushel, Tom Ford, Vera Wang, Nadia Byerlin, Co Stark, and here's some more. Seth Green, James Gunn, Dan Schneider, Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks, Stephen Colbert, Kevin Spacey, Kathy Griffin, Oprah Winfrey, Sean Carter, Beyonce Knowles, Anthony Kiedis, John Legend, Christy Teigen Tyler, Ben Affleck, Stephen Collins, Will Ferrell, Eminem, Jeffrey Jones, Victor Salva, Mark Rector, Charlie Sheen, Tyler Grasham, Madonna, Catherine Hudson, Gwen Stefani, Stefani Germota, James Franco, Will Smith. Oh, has Will Smith been in the news lately? Justin Rowland, John Cusack, Anderson Cooper, Demi Moore, Brian Affleck, Meryl Streep, Wanda Sykes, Chelsea Handler, Michelle Wolf, Pharrell Williams, Quentin Tarantino, Robert Downey Jr. They are petrified of that list and what those films getting out. They have all the videos of all those people at work.
Really?
Yep. It's going to get ugly. They're panicked.
So are they going to release those videos? Or what do they do with them?
I'm told that, well, it's looking like they're holding it back, that one person has control of that. But I'm told other people have them and are going to release them at the right time.
So that's the big question. The level of involvement. A lot of very wealthy and famous people travel in small circles. So you have to look how often these people came to the island. Was it functions? Was it parties at the island? Or was it specifically involved in these sex parties and stuff? And also, how much did the people going there know? Now, I know that I'm playing it safe, and I mean, it looks bad, of course. It looks really bad. You have to wonder, though, is everybody, because it's a scissor, you get a picture with Epstein. Does that mean you're involved? You go to his house. Does that mean you're involved? I don't know. No, a lot of people went to his house. They were not involved. Okay. Well, you go to his summer home, his vacation home. Are you involved? Well, starts getting a little bit murkier. You traveled with him to his private island on multiple occasions. Are you involved? Well, honestly, a lot of people that met him even briefly say, that you could tell what he was into. It was, especially after his first arrests for rape, right, with the minor. Not rape, but, sex with minors or whatever you want to call it down in Florida. He was free for a long time after that because he was nothing bad happened. Like he did a couple months in jail, that's it, or probation even. So everybody knew. And so you got to see if these people were going to the island even after that, then there's no doubt. And like the gentleman in the video said, the idea here is that there's videos on all these people. That's one of the ways Epstein made his money, was through blackmail. He would get people in these situations, get something on them, like a videotape of them having sex with a minor or something like that, and then boom, they would use that to blackmail them. Now, if you think that he stopped doing this, or that all these ultra famous royals and actors and politicians were going to the island and he was not doing this, you're mistaken. There are tapes of at least the majority of those names somewhere. And like the guy said, they have not been released so far. Somebody has them, and they're going to be dropped at the right time. Or they're still being used to blackmail those individuals. I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I going crazy or what? Or am I playing it too safe? Thank you guys for watching as always. Buy red, sell green.
All right. Just some more points of view. I got one more here, if I can find it. I love how this works out. Now I have to
imagine this: the day after the real proof drops. Not rumors or flight logs, but undeniable footage of world leaders doing hideous, unmentionable things to children. The world reacts with horror. Governments crumble. Markets collapse. Chaos spreads. Why? Because when power is suddenly removed without a plan, a vacuum forms, and nature abhors a vacuum. Now imagine you hold that proof, evidence implicating presidents, billionaires, architects of global control. You could release it, or you could use it to force them to surrender, dismantle their networks, and retreat without war. That's not corruption, that's leverage. And leverage is how you remove power without triggering collapse. To the doubters who say Trump is on the list, ask yourself, if that were true, why did they deploy everything to stop him? lawfare, fake investigations, a CIA-signed Russia hoax, even attempts on his life. If they had the leverage on Trump, they would have used it already. But they haven't, because they don't. I wish Trump didn't have to lie. I wish there were another way. Maybe this bizarre, out of sync with MAGA behavior is the wink and the nod. Maybe acting out of character is the message. This isn't about feelings. It's not about outrage or hashtags. It's about power and how it's strategically neutralized. You don't take down the Illuminati or New World Order with a lawsuit. You do it with leverage. Silent, invisible, world-shaping leverage. My friends, we are all anonymous, and welcome to the real world.
Dr. Marks here. I'm the gentleman that was on the Sean Ryan podcast that talked about pedophilia and explained how there are networks. This is coming from someone who, one, hunts pedophiles and protects children through our task force. This is the reality that I want people to understand. And the reason why the Epstein list will not come out, like I've said from the beginning, is because it is an intelligence operation. The best form of currency right now for control and power in our world is videos or pictures of children being abused by certain adults. When you have those as leverage, you can control a person to make decisions that will shape nations and truly make the difference in both political, legal, business, and world economics. The moment you prosecute a pedophile that would be on that list, you lose the leverage on them, and you also risk them telling the rest of the story.
All right. Still getting the hang of this thing. Oh, my goodness. Well, I hope that kind of brought some people to different views about things that are going on. I was very upset that Trump didn't release the Epstein info. And then I guess he had received enough pressure where he said, well, I'll tell Bondi to release it, whatever's credible. And I went, oh boy, if that's not an excuse to redact everything. But then I ran into these videos where these guys are giving out a different point of view. And it very possibly could be what he's doing. Very possible. There are still some things that he's done that I'm not happy with. I don't like the idea that we continue to fund Ukraine in that war. He said he was going to stop the war. He said in a day. I really didn't. I never took him literally for that, but I took him a day, meaning he would stop it very quickly. But here we're still going on. It's well over 100 days now. I don't like the idea that we continue to give money to Israel. Why do they need our money? They're self-supporting, aren't they? And what value is it to us for them to give them money all the time? Israel's not our friend. And I'm not talking about the Jewish people, so don't call me an anti-Semite. I'm probably more Semite than the majority of you out there. It's not the people, it's the government. It's just like our government here. It's corrupt. Well, and guess what? Our government took lessons from them. It's just corrupt beyond your imagination. I don't like the idea that Trump at one time said, well, we're going to take Gaza and turn it into a paradise of some sort. What happens to the people that were living there? I mean, if you've ever seen pictures, I played pictures of it a couple of shows ago. It has decimated people. I don't know what excuse anybody could give for doing that to a whole society, to a whole, oh my gosh, how many generations of people? But it was what it is, and it was what it was, and now, they're talking about this other thing, which just drives me crazy. I don't like the idea that he contracted with this company called Palantir. And Palantir is a high-tech company that's going to gather information on everybody in the United States. Why? I mean, I've had people argue, well, they already have that, let's call it. Yeah, they already have, but they don't have it in a central station. They'd have to go searching for it. They'd have to really go do a lot of work to get it all together. Now they're going to be able to get it at any time that they want, the push of a button. Everything about us. And it's not their business everything about us. I'm not talking about if you're a criminal and you've committed a felony or something like that, that's different. I'm talking about law-abiding citizens. You got no business sticking your nose in our business. And the more that happens, the more of our freedoms get taken away. I heard that he's all in for the push for the cryptocurrencies. If we end up going digital, they will have 100% control over it. Right now, they have over our finances, they have about 90% control. Do you realize it or not? You do something that somebody in government doesn't like, they can stop you right now. You're fine. And if you don't have cash, you're done. You think I'm lying? What's that guy's name? He's a rap star. He's a black guy. I can't think of his name. And I'm not talking about Diddy. That's another guy. And he lashed out against Hollywood. He was saying how Hollywood was a bunch of criminals and pedophiles and all this and that and the other. They cut off. He was $1.2 million. They froze $1.2 million of his dollars at the banks. I wish I could remember his name. Anyway, so it's already happening, and it can happen, and it will happen as long as we continue to allow these people to do this to us. People, like I said, I'm happy with what he's doing with regard to the immigration. I'm not too happy with some of these people are saying that they've been here for 30 years and they've been paying taxes. And well, if that's the case, then why can't we work something out? Because sending them back, that's not their home anymore. After being here for 30 years or so, I think there should be some consideration that the violent ones, the ones that are part of the gangs, get them out. Get them the hell out of here. I think everybody would agree with that. But I think you have to have some compassion somewhere along the line. Some of these stories that I read about these people, they followed one lady into the bathroom. Come on. Good gravy, man. Yeah, I followed her into the bathroom. They knew that she was in, I think it was in a courthouse. And they figured she was going to hide in the bathroom because she must have seen him or something. The video shows them following her in the bathroom. Again, I'm all for the removal of people who have entered our country illegally. I'm all for that, but there has to be some consideration. I believe there has to be, or there should be, maybe not has to be. There should be some consideration to those who have been here for a long time, 10 years, 15, 30 years. This one guy, 30 years he's been here. His employer was making a video, pleading, don't take, he's worked with us for, he's been there for like 15 or 18 years, I think it was. He's paid taxes. He's got a social security number. The only thing he doesn't have is a citizenship. So can't we work something out with somebody like that? He's not presenting a problem. He's becoming a part of society. They hold him away like a criminal, and to a degree, he broke the law. There's no questioning about that. But I think that after you've been here for that, now, if he'd been living here for 30 years and collecting Medicare, get him out of here. We don't need that. But this is a different story, and I'm sure that out of so many thousands that they've got, there are similar stories where it's somebody they're really not a criminal per se. They're not violent. They're not out robbing anybody. They're working. They're paying taxes. They've been here for a while. We should work out something with them. Trump says we want good people here. Well, if somebody's, I go back to that one guy. I felt so bad for him. 30 years the guy's worked there. 30 years the guy's been here, and 18 years he's worked at this company. He's done everything that you and I would do, except that he came into the country wrongfully. I'm not for breaking the law. Don't misunderstand me, but I don't know. To me, it seems like an over punishment for somebody who's been here that long. The other ones who have been here and they're sucking off the system, get them out. Get them out. And the criminals, hell yeah, get them out. I don't think anybody's going to argue that point. I think maybe we could use a little more compassion considering who's going to go and who's not going to go. They were wrong in what they did, but does that mean we treat them like especially this guy? And this one particular guy really pulled on my heartstrings. I'm an immigrant. I've been here since I was 5 years old. 66 years I've been here. I came here legally. Fortunately, my dad was an American citizen, and I became a naturalized citizen. But I mean, my gosh, I felt for the guy because I'm an immigrant. I think there's a lot of us out there that are immigrants. I grew up in an immigrant predominant area. I grew up in Miami, predominantly Cuban. Everybody thought it was Cuban. No, it wasn't Cuban. That's neither here nor there. But what I'm saying is that on one hand, we allowed. I'll use the Cuban example. Just because you were in Cuba, you could come over here. As soon as you set foot on land, you were declared okay. Hey, man, we're going to work you right in with everybody else. So, what did I don't remember where this guy was from. I can't remember where he was from, but it wasn't Cuba, and it wasn't Mexico. It was somewhere else. But anyway, so you see my point. So one group of people can come right in, literally can come to our shore. I don't know if this is true anymore, and I was because I lived in Florida most of my life. If once they hit shore, boom, they're done. They could come and seek asylum. So what's the difference between them coming and then I go back to that guy who's been here for 30 years, worked for 18? You know, who deserves to be here more? You know. Anyway, that's my feeling. A lot of people don't agree with me on it, and I guess I respect it, but I guess I feel that way because I came here understanding that it's a privilege to be here. It's a privilege to be accepted into this country and become a citizen. I don't like the idea of what happened the last 4 years at all. I think the people were behind that should be punished and punished severely, and it should be done publicly to all that are involved with what happened, particularly the last 4 years, but it's been going on a lot longer than that. It was going on before Trump's first term. It had been going on quite a bit. So whoever's involved in that, yeah, I think they should be. Look at the harm. Look at the damage that they've done. Look at how much cleanup that we're having to go through because of their actions. And their actions, in some cases, in my opinion, their actions are absolutely treasonous. Absolutely, it's treason. Oh, do I have that one? There is. Yeah, here we go. I see Blue is in the backstage. Hang on, Blue. I got one more I want to play before I forget. Okay, so we've made a little bit of progress in talks. Okay, but one of the things that caught my ear about this is I've been saying talk. When is the action? When do I see the perp walk? When do I see the magic bracelets being worn? Maybe we're a little closer.
Essentially making a very intentional decision to create this manufactured, politicized piece of intelligence with the objective of subverting the will of the American people who in November of 2016 delivered a historic victory to President Trump, defeating Hillary Clinton. And President Obama and his team, their goal was to essentially not accept the decision of the American people and to use this manufactured, politicized intelligence as a means to enact what would become essentially a years-long coup against President Trump. You have gone into great detail over these years of what the effects of this document and this decision have resulted in. Obviously, a years-long Mueller investigation that cost taxpayers almost $40 million, 2 congressional impeachments, endless smears and attacks against not only President Trump, but his family. He had senior members of his team who were investigated, some arrested and jailed. We had heightened and increased tensions between the United States and Russia. The list goes on and on about the consequences of President Obama and his senior cabinet members politicizing intelligence once again, and I say these words very clearly, to enact what was essentially a years-long coup, subverting the will of the American people in that election in November.
Now, to me, it sounds like you have appointed powerful bureaucrats that just flat out created a narrative that was false to undermine a duly elected president. Now, if that's not a grand conspiracy, I don't know what would be. Do you see crimes here?
I do, Sean, and I'm referring all of these documents that we have found and uncovered, referring them to the Department of Justice for further investigation, accountability, and action, not just investigation, but action. Accountability has to take place. the American people's ability to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic is literally what's at stake, and therefore the future of our ability to exist as the country that we know it. This accountability is critical to make sure that this never happens again. Exposing the truth and naming those who are responsible should drive that accountability that has to take place. I just want to mention quickly, Sean, you mentioned the Steele dossier. That plays a critical role in these documents that we released, specifically because James Clapper, James Comey, John Brennan, they all knew that the Steele dossier was discredited at this point. It's not something any intelligence professional looked to as something that could be referenced or should be referenced.
Well, criminal charges. To me, it's treason. We'll see. So like I've been saying, talk. I'm waiting for action. So she said she's going to take action. She's going to look and get somebody to take some action. These people need to be put away for a very long time, if not done away with completely, if you understand what I'm saying. I mean, there was a time when people who committed treason were executed. I think about there was a couple around 53, I think it was, they were found guilty of treason with Russia. They were given, I think it was Russia, they were giving them secrets, atomic secrets or something. They were executed. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to bring Blue on here. Let me see if I can find the, all right, I'll do that in a minute. Okay, there we go. Hello, my dear, how are you?
Hello, I'm good.
Are you in a quiet spot? You're breaking up a little bit. You in a good, where you got good reception?
Is this better?
No, not really. I mean,
Not
I can hear you, but it's like your words are chopped up.
Is this any better?
Nope.
Let me walk to another part of the room. I apologize. Just bear with me.
Put it to your head. Stick it on top of your head. Use your body as an antenna.
It seems like, I am technopathic, and I know I have those abilities. I'm having problems with their communications or other platforms at times, too. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Let me know if this gets any better. I'm just trying to maneuver around. Any better?
No, not much.
Oh my gosh. Are you talking about 5 bars, people? I don't know what to say.
Well, we'll try it. We'll see if we can make it work. Are you moving around or are you sitting still? or
No,
what?
I'm in one spot.
Wow.
I moved to another.
Well, let's.
I'm gonna try one more thing here. I'm gonna put my headphones on, see if that helps. If not, man, I just don't know what's going on with communications.
Go ahead. Maybe that'll make a difference.
Internet's kind of been choppy.
Uh-huh.
And not just dealing with me, it's been dealing with a lot of people. All right, let me try it this way. Hello?
Yep, I'm still here.
All right. Is this any better?
Nope. But I can pretty much understand what you're saying. It's just your words are chopped up a little bit. Kind of
All
like
right,
being
I'm gonna try.
Oh, she's going to try something. This is the joys of doing it live, guys. So anyway, I'm sure she'll be back in a minute. She'll go to another area. Hopefully get a better signal. There was one more thing. Well, I can't find it. So I have to, this is like all new to me. All right, let's do this. I'll take a quick break and wait for her to come back. And in the interim of that, I'll take a quick break. Here we go.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show. We'll be right back. Check the red pill, check the blue pill.
I can't help but look around and feel like things are getting out of hand. We've been told to trust the science, but the science just doesn't make sense. They say it isn't mandatory, but they also say your jab or your job. But if it doesn't stop the spread, it makes it feel like this is just a facade. What about the healthcare workers? What about the frontline nurses? How quickly we forget that they were working 18 hours a day. What about informed consent? What about due diligence? It seems a country that I used to call home is surely slipping away. I can't help but look around and feel like minds are slowly starting to change. Cause even if you're triple vaccinated, know that segregation isn't the way. Freedom is a choice and it's available to all if we choose. But first things first, you gotta turn off the news. Yo, what about the healthcare workers? What about the frontline nurses? How quickly we forget that they were working 18 hours a day. What about informed consent? What about due diligence? It seems the country that I used to call home is surely slipping away. If you're late to the party, there's plenty room at the table. This side don't discriminate. I'm calling on every single man, woman, child if they're able. It's time to take the streets and liberate. But please don't be a part of the problem, staying willfully ignorant, cause there's just way too much at stake. Yo, it's okay to change your mind, you can admit you were wrong, cause where there's perfect love, there ain't no shame. Heavenly Father, show me what I don't understand yet. I got my marching orders, I don't fully know the plan yet. Hold on to my Bible before bed, no it ain't banned yet. Did you know the makers of the vaccine make the Xanax? I would never lean on corporations for morality, cause they put their profits over people for their salaries. Know they wanna make you bend the knee for your normality. I know you feeling all alone, but in reality, there's way more of us than them. 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 That's the truth. There's way more of us than them. There's way more of us than them. There's way more of us. There's way more of us than them.
And we're back. Hope you didn't go too far, because we have more interesting and thought-provoking information for you coming up on the Red Pill Reality Show.
Good gravy. If the camera doesn't come on automatically, the mic gets muted automatically. And I lost. Okay. All right. Let me try bring Miss Blue back on. Are you there, my dear?
Hello? Can you
Oh,
hear me
that's much
better?
better.
Much better?
That's better so far.
For
Yep.
some reason, the connectivity, even though it's showing 5 bars where I'm at, it's not going well through my phone. So my friend put me through his Wi-Fi. Hopefully this helps.
Oh, awesome. That's
Okay.
better. A little choppy, but much, much better.
Much better. Okay. Well, we'll try to work through it this way. I'm trying my best here.
All right. So what are you going to share with me tonight?
Okay, so quite a few things, Riscalla. In regards to who and what I am and what I represent first, Unified Federation President, Intergalactic Commander to Space Force, Military Department, A51 Department. I am, as well as several other star seeds, deploy and help in the field to maintaining better code of ethics for mankind. That's what we deal with. Now, going into the affairs at order of what's really happening behind the scenes, as well as in front of your eyes. Now, we already know about the weather instability. Well, we'll get to that further later. But do we understand what's going on with the chemicals? Biochemical warfare that has been accelerated, not just from above, but right there on the field and everyday life, right in front of you, even during the daytime where you're walking. Reports from myself, as well as several others, have sightings, as well as cooperative understanding of what certain entities and or organizations are doing and are not utilizing these things proper. So, we have the town of West Palm Beach, and we have current entities there that's supposed to clean up and maintain that code of ethics for the land, right? And you have the ones or certain entities, and not just talking about West Palm Beach. We're talking about scattered abroad everywhere, cleanup crews, whatever. And the ones that deal with the spray-ons too, that go into towns and spray the chemicals against insects and bugs on plants. In open sight, in front of kids. Even here in West Palm Beach, that they're openly spraying these chemicals. They have them on their backs. They're wearing these masks. Usually they're dark skin. And they're doing it and they're spraying it all over the sidewalks, all over the roads, everywhere. And pictures I've been taken and been notified of a certain entity and or entities that was doing it right in front of these little kids. Not even but a few feet.
So I'll share this with you. Just before I left West Palm, when I was living in West Palm, we had a small park that was just down the street from me where I would take my dog every day. And in that park, they have the canal system all through there. Of course, anywhere down in that area is canals because of the degree of water and everything for drainage and so forth. So we would walk down to the park, and sit in front of the canal and just kind of sit there and enjoy the sunlight for, 15, 20 minutes, and then we get up. So this one day, I walked down the park. We're walking over to the canal, which is a little deeper in the park. As I get there, there's a young lady in what I would call like a rowboat, doesn't have a motor on the back of it. She's got one of these things that you're describing on her back, and she's pumping it with one hand and spraying with the other, spraying the water as well as the edge of the vegetation.
Oh,
yep. And she's not wearing a mask or anything. And I got a whiff of this stuff. I had to step back. I started to step back, and she came up on shore with the boat and then began to spray the shoreline. As she was spraying the shoreline, I said to her, "Do you know what you're spraying?" She said, "It was a generic for a Roundup." I said, "You realize what you're spraying is one of the most toxic substances that is known to man." It is, and she just laughed at me and just kept on spraying. But so what you're saying is absolutely true, and it's happening.
Care.
Well,
they don't care.
Also,
they don't.
I don't know if they don't care or they're more worried about their job than they are, somebody.
It's a mix of biological warfare, really. It's a biochemical warfare because it extends upon perimeters. Yeah. It has been notified that, then I've been noticing too, that they spray it on fields, even around this areas, fields where kids are. It's being deployed. A lot of it's being deployed where kids, young ones are. And they're doing it in different wavelengths. They're either spraying it and they're running along on lawnmowers, spraying it down all over the field, all willy-nilly at certain times of the day or night, or they're doing it on sides of the road, onto the benches, There has been hoses that go up right into these vehicles that have these clear liquid in it that they do, and it has been spotted before with people taking videos of this person spraying it all over the sides of the road, all over under the sidewalks, by the buildings and stuff. I mean, is it necessary? And this one's in the middle of the night.
Hang
So
on, Blue.
this is,
Hang
go
on,
ahead.
Blue. Hang on. Are we still live, you guys? Can somebody in the chat room give me a, because it looks like we went off the air and then we went back on the air, and I don't know whether we are or not.
Well, if we did, maybe I'm exposing a little bit too much, but you know what? Maybe a little bit too much needs to be exposed because people need to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
If it keeps going on like it is with this biochemical warfare and what they're doing, it's going to make things worse.
Still live. Okay, good. Thanks.
Yep. Chemicals in the water in dealing with homes, modular homes and places that have complexes. They're doing it now more in areas where they're putting these chemicals in these ponds, in these little areas where the ducks, the geese, and any other animals, like they even go into it, they get poisoned.
Wow.
So while we're destroying all the land around us, we're also destroying their habitat. And they're not allowed to go anywhere. And this is even happening here in the tunnel in West Palm Beach, and I'm sure even across who knows where. You know, I knew they do this in a bigger building site places like New York or where, and I'm sure, you know, places where they have a lot of buildings and stuff, and they don't want the animals around. When they're doing it around wildlife and that, where are they going to go next? This has got to stop. I mean, you got to create an equilibrium here because the chemicals are getting and extending way too far. Way too far, and if people need to have that eye opener, they really do, or it's just gonna get too bad.
So I just saw a report about one of the things that the most common things in the chemtrails, the chemical trails that we see. The three most common elements are aluminum, barium, and strontium. However, now they're finding all kinds of stuff. They found blood. They found I can't think of a couple of other things that they found. So it's not limiting it to heavy metals anymore. It's now, like you're saying, it's now become biological. You know, with the heavy metals themselves, that's really not a biological agent. But now when you introduce things like
that stuff you're saying attributing to the air, but this is I'm talking about what they're doing on the ground and in the water, and they're doing it on ground level now. In between what they're utilizing, they're doing it in the air, they're doing it on the ground, and it's biochemical warfare. It's fucking the biological. I'm sorry about my language. Is messing around with the biological elements of mankind and the creatures, because creatures are getting sick too. The animals are all dying off. It's not just humankind.
Yeah. They're poisoning everything. Yeah, I've always wondered. They call it geoengineering, geological engineering. Okay, who are you engineering it for? He's certainly not being engineered for humans and what's been on this planet for however long the planet's been around. You're engineering it for something else, because none of that stuff's going to end up living by the time you're done.
Yeah. Well, when we also go and we're talking about the biochemical warfare, I do want to extend to the ecological part of the weather phenomenon. We do know about DARPA, NOAA, and HARP, and celestial beings like myself who could possibly affect the weather, and paranormal phenomenon, as well as the actual realm itself affecting it. So the decidual-based modes of what's going on currently in this field and playing out recently across the planet and in this country itself, and not just are dealing with HARP and DARPA and NOAA. There is an extensive outlet of a consistency of the core itself being deactivated upon a certain term because one of the nexus distributors was disrupted. As it consisted of an accelerated rate upon the fields and the electromagnetic fields on this planet. So there is a paranormal phenomenon happening, but that has been also catalyzed and caused by negative entities and or corporations of certain maintainment lines against its perimeter. So when we're going into the higher proportional speeds of this, yes, lower definitive modes, HARP and NOA and DARPA consistently causing a problem needs to stop. Higher elevated modes of aerogravitational propulsional vehicles that spray on need to stop because they help incubate nanoparticle technologies and bioelemental streams into the air and redirect the molecular structure downwards.
So let me ask you about the stuff that you're saying that they're spraying on the ground, which I pointed out to you that the young lady was spraying Roundup, which is probably the most toxic thing. But how did you find out what else they're spraying? How did you go about doing that?
Well, this is from being spotted on perimeter. I don't know what they're putting in, but I do know that they're doing it on purpose. They're doing it against younger folk. Obviously, they're setting that these chemicals are going to cause sicknesses, and I wouldn't be.
Yeah, well, that I don't
wouldn't
doubt.
be surprised if it has certain types of COVID infrastructure, a bioelemental stream simulated within it, or something that decommissions the generated DNA structure of humankind and animals and the land itself. Because they're doing it all over the land. They're spraying it everywhere. They're spraying it on plants, animals, people, this, that, whatever. Not more or less on people, but when it's on the plants and shit and the insects, and it's contaminating everything. There's contamination all throughout it.
I don't know if you've heard that they're also vaccinating with mRNA vaccines now, the livestock, as well as they're figuring out how to put it in our vegetables. We're being attacked from the air, we're being attacked from the water, and now in just about every aspect of food that we have, they've figured out a way to mess it up. You know, I like to use some colorful language, but it wouldn't be very professional. But you know what I'm saying? There's hardly anywhere for us to turn anymore. Who's going to start this landslide, this wave of evil? I can't really think of another word to describe it because these people know what they're doing. What horrified me the other day is I have grandkids. I live with some of my grandkids. I'm looking at the ingredients in their cereal. Holy smokes, man. There's this thing called TSP, which is trisodium phosphate, I think is what it is. Trisodium phosphate is paint remover. Why in the world would you want paint remover in a freaking cereal, for God's sake? So it's like I said, it's everywhere, and the best we can do right now is to have someone like you who can tell us, you know, hey, listen, I never thought about what you just said. You know that I've seen them spraying, but it never occurred. I thought they were just spraying like Roundup or something, but very possibly what you're saying is true. They're spraying a lot more than just Roundup. Could be some type of
Bioengineered product that genetically modifies the structures of humankind, the animals, and the land around it.
Yeah.
And it causes a mass amount of problems more than it should be habilitated.
Wow.
Go back into the 1930s, 40s, 50s. You see people spraying a bunch of that shit around in front of kids or spraying it all over the sidewalks. You see chemicals everywhere all back then. I'm just saying. You see all that going on? No. This is accelerated within the past probably 10, 15 years. In the 5 years, it's even got worse.
Wow. Well, it wouldn't, you know, with what you're saying, it would not surprise me at all if they're spraying some kind of technology, you know, just like many of what we were talking about earlier, the thing that goes in the arm. That was technology. It wasn't what we were told. It wasn't the V. It was something else. It was the technology that was injectable. So it's very possible that same technology now doesn't have to be. The biggest organ that we have is what? Is our skin. So if they're spraying this crap out there and it's in micro nanoparticles, which means it can stay afloat for hours and hours, days, you're walking in it and it's small enough to enter your skin because it's so small. It's smaller than your cell particles. Not good.
Well, if I were Donald Trump right now, I would dig in deep into these entities and other beings that are dealing with supposed to cleaning up construction, this, that, just even with chemicals, products, even running through certain corporations through the complexes of recycling and garbage, because that's kind of gotten a little bit more out of hand too. Only 30% of recyclables even gets there. The rest is all the contaminated. Don't even go there. And you know, the contamination has gotten worse, obviously. And nobody does nothing to help with this and alleviate this issue. So
No, because
when it goes
everything's
into the
based on money.
corporations or the elites, they need to consider the chemical warfares and reducing the amounts of chemicals being produced, as well as implementing better for the health and safety of mankind and the environment around them. This is what needs to be set into place instead of worrying so much about who's going to bomb who and who's going to get whose land and who's going to go against who, or who's going to create this term with who and that law with who. You know, we need to get down and dig deep and conserve our actions for what we can do with each other in this planet, because it's going downwards. It's spiraling
Yeah, it has
downwards
been.
in a
Yeah,
big motion.
you said
And
the
humans
same
need
words
to
I've
wake
said.
this up to
You
themselves.
said
They need to understand this.
you said the same words I've said. It's spiraling downwards. I've seen it going faster and faster. And what really pointed it out to me was 9/11. 9/11 was like, it was what it took to get the nation to start listening to whatever the government had to say. Then we're going to do that, because, oh my God, we were attacked at 9/11. We had, you know, these terrorists that came in and did this to us. So the government has to protect us when they don't realize it. The government was very complicit in all of that. There's enough evidence to show that. I'm hoping that at some point in the near future, somebody will go back to that and say, you know what, people have to answer some questions about that, because there was a lot that happened that they mowed over. And I don't know if you heard some of the monologue that I did, but I showed some videos where it shows that even the media was involved. So whoever's involved in that, there's just so much corruption. It's so vast and it's so wide. I don't know how you wrap your head around any of this stuff. You know, every time I think about something else comes up. You mentioned having the president look at this situation. I think it should be RFK Jr. that's looking at this.
Both on lateral terms and together need to consider the actions of what they can do, the president and those on the lower terms. And I do want to state about the Twin Tower stuff. I was on a recent with Jilly Cohan in an interview, and for some reason Facebook had taken it down, and I think that it included the Twin Towers and very, you know, important information concerning certain terms here. So I'm just going to re-report this about this since it was taken down. And I hate when they do that. I hate, and Riscalla, I'm going to be honest with you, they've taken stuff down from us before too.
Yeah, they banned me.
So,
they banned me. Yep.
Yeah, so it's sensitive information they don't want out there. So when it comes to the Twin Towers, it was a collateral event that, yeah, that was a real plane. There were real people there, but they had projected it to make it more than what it was. And there may have been some holograms interacted with it, but definitely the way that these buildings collapsed and or building, it was decommissioned from the inside out by a bomb interface.
That's right.
In order for that to collapse, a plane cannot. If you look at a regular plane or a small jet or something goes in a building, it should just land there and stick into it, not go through it. I mean, it shouldn't be compact order event. And then if it did do that, it shouldn't collapse it and it go all the way down from up downwards. Okay. So I'm going to re-report on what was lost past and acknowledge your turn too. But yes, it was a real plane, but no, there's more behind it than what they say. They want to create more collateral damage and confusion amongst the masses. It's a good way for the elites to do such.
Well, I don't agree about the real plane part. Did you see the monologue that I played?
Well, there are holograms that can be projected to maintain that manifold processing streams. Supposedly, there are families that may have been lost through the trajectory node. A lot of this has been planted, though. A lot of it. There has been projected holograms. That plane itself could have been possible projected hologram. All I'm saying, there has been lives lost too within this.
Well, I
Within
don't
all
doubt about it. No, no, absolutely. The people who got on those aircraft lost their lives. There's no question about that.
Absolutely, is what I'm saying, that there has been a hologram projected through it, but there's been lives lost.
Yeah.
There has been something much more unfolded than what people perceived it to be.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
I don't
you
know how
are
many
right,
people are
Riscalla.
aware that there was a huge gold heist that day. I wonder how many people know about that. Those were international banks that were in those buildings. They had gold in those banks. And there was one of the largest gold heists in the world happened that day. Nobody talks about that. They don't talk about building number 6. They rarely talk about building number 7, which was clearly a controlled demolition. Number 7 wasn't hit by anything. And then at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, one of the BBC reporters says, we just got a report that building number 7 has come down. You big dummy, building 7 was still standing behind her. It didn't come down until 20 minutes later, 5:20 in the afternoon. Building 7 comes down in its own footprint.
Right. So that could have been a real plane projected, but also they manifolded it into a holographic scenery event. So that processed much more than what they perceived. So definitely pay attention, people, man. You can't just say it's one thing. It's you just, people are stuck in their boxes. They can't see past it. It's unfortunate, Riscalla, but what we need to do is just wake them up, I guess, so their perception speeds.
We're at the point, I think, honestly, I think it's either they're going to listen or they're not going to listen. And those who don't listen, don't listen. You know, I tell people, you don't have to, first of all, you don't have to believe anything I tell you. I am grateful that you take the time to listen to what I have to say. I would expect from you that you would question what I have to say, and then you go research it yourself and find out for yourself if what I'm telling you is true. Because then it will hit you completely different than, oh, well, Riscalla said this or Riscalla said that's big difference with you. Well, I know it was in my life, you know, and I'm just comparing my life to, I guess, maybe unfairly to other people, but I know for me, when I found out for myself that the time that the war that I served in was all based on a lie, I nearly had a nervous breakdown. I couldn't believe that. Up until that point in my life, I thought our government was honorable. I thought these people were people of high morals. I come to find out it was all about a lie. They needed a war, so they started a lie, so they started a war, and all these thousands and hundreds of thousands of people died. 60,000 of my generation didn't come back. And it was all over a lie. It was so difficult for me to wrap my mind around all of that. But that's the truth. That's what happens. And they're looking for another war right now. They need look how long we've been without a real war. Now we're getting subsidized through Ukraine because we're giving them all kinds of stuff. We're getting subsidized through Israel. We're giving them all kinds of stuff. But they're looking for another war, and the war is going to be Iran. They've had their eyes on Iran for a long time. I played that video with Wesley Clark, General Wesley Clark, saying that right after 9/11, he went back to Washington, D.C. to visit some of the people that worked for him, and he said, they're planning to go to war with they're going to bomb Afghanistan. He goes, oh my gosh. Yeah, but Afghanistan, what did Afghanistan have to do? Well, he said, that's just what they're going to do. They're going to bomb Afghanistan. So he goes back a couple of weeks later to talk to some of the people, and they tell him, oh, it's much worse. They're going to go to 7 countries. This is back in early 2002. They're going to go to 7 countries in 5 years: Libya, Syria, Somalia, Iran. I can't remember some of the other ones, but all the ones that we've been attacking. They're going there. Iraq was one of them. Afghanistan was another one of them. I'll see if I can find it, and I'll play it for you. Yeah. So we're dealing with some heavy duty dark side, and we need all the help that we can get at this point, because their whole agenda is to do away with us. Do you remember the Georgia Guidestones? Do you remember that, Blue?
I believe so.
You know what they are? There were stones that were put up in Georgia, kind of mysteriously.
Oh, them, yeah.
And they had, I think it was 8 or 11 languages of how they want the new world to come out. And the very first line was
It's one of the considered seals of the world. There are several seals of the matrix or innovational seals that either deployed or broken throughout the timelines.
Well, they had engraved this thing with
Mhm.
the first line was to maintain humanity in balance. Maintain humanity in balance with nature. Something 500 million. They want to reduce the population of the planet to 500 million. And if they are telling us the truth about how many people are on the planet, which I doubt, but that's what they're saying, 8 billion people. 8 billion would be 8,000 millions. They want to reduce it from 8,000 to 500.
There is divinity order in the biblical prophecy that explains about a new generation unfolding in a new beginning. So it's not something that can be altered. We just hope that it will become something in the end good for mankind, and all the
I hope so.
definitive negative actions that are unfolding would stop.
We have so many things working against us right now. You know, you
We
mentioned with the
understand that.
spraying on the ground.
Mhm.
AI, I believe,
You
is going to
know,
be.
it's going to end up happening, and then there has to become a stop, and the divine order has to unfold. It's part of a prophecy too,
Mhm.
and we are you humans are experiencing that bad now before that good comes, and that good will come because it's written part of the prophecy. Even the Vatican know about this too. This
So
world has had new orders several times over, new generations, and it's advanced the species through those timelines or decompressed them, depending on how they go through their actions and what's being implemented and given to them.
So
It's been encoded.
tell me what you think about AI.
Well, advanced intellect could be augmented into artificial intelligence, cybernetics, in tune frequency streams that could be maintained through advanced technologies in certain areas of the body construction. Now, humans, they're kind of weary about that. I know that's a part of the AI that I'm talking about, and you're conferring with it. I don't know, several outlets that go through AI, distributional scenes, and what it could do through communication, satellite terms, what it does between entities. Like, I know you're concerned about the credit system, but there are financial stabilities on our corporate end, and myself and several other individuals that are trying to maintain the new credit stability system and cooperative events through the quantum financial system. And the corporates that deal with that will create an ability code, so there's better trade and laws, and confirming with those laws with the new actions that are being settled for the near future for mankind. And those directed laws will come through three determinizing effects. And that's run through AI as well. AI's been around a lot longer than people understand. It's been through many other types of dimensions and possibility scores, including what's over the Antarctica wall into the outer Girthan realms.
So
Or the inner Girthan realms.
here's my concern with the AI, and my
I'm just
concern.
saying good or bad between it. Those are the good potential parts. The bad potential parts is what the military and governments can do with it and catalyze corruption amongst mankind and oververt it. That's not what we want.
What happens when these things that we are building now become smarter than us? Because Elon has said they're already computers that are smarter than
Like
any
I
human
said,
being.
cybernetics, augmented mainframe streams like Arcturians, a hyperactive species that actually have through their third eye. I don't know if you ever seen them. Arcturian extraterrestrial species, they are real base status codes, and they look like there's something there. It was actually opener of the third eye through cybernetics itself and maintaining speed. Now, there's something similar projection through Elon Musk, and that's through the back mainframe. In the upper neck module, it opens up to the second third eye, which goes right down into the lower vertebral mainframe order, which is the spinal column. It connects right into the inner psyche awareness stream that is locked up for most of mankind. It helps unlock it. So it's giving you extra potential and assistance through augmentation processing streams. There are several outlets throughout in dealing with the mantoid species, subcultures of the greys, intact frequency streams, the humanoids, subcultures through the Atlanteans, and as well as the gray dominating cultures that go in through the trilateral platforms of Giza in the ancient times that had similar projects. They have two hybrid telepathy and mainframe codes through AI advanced awareness streams, using these advanced technological achievements to maintain their own code between themselves and their potential DNA. So this is something that could become good for mankind as long as it's augmented the right way. Now, if you want to defy the effect, though, you're using AI and you're making too many robots and using those subcultures to overtake humans and what they are. That's causing too much perversion. We would want to symbolize what would be something like Star Trek or Star Wars, with those little robot guys. They're cool. R2D2 or whatever. They're, something like that. Or CP3, the other robot guy, the robot dudes. Something more of a humanoid status code, but still lower on the residual base and works alongside, capacitates with humankind. We want to keep that leveled. So AI in general is
here's
good.
my concern with any of that AI. What happens when these AI machines become sentient? They realize that they are a
That's
life
why I
form.
said it has to have an equilibrium, making sure that they're deployed like the similar movies.
There's no regulatory going on right now, and one
humans are not
guy
capacitating that lawful term. They're not incorporating that. They're not creating a bioengineered mainframe computer that could direct the field of effect for these robots and utilize them. And if they are, they need to consider that action further and make sure that robotics are considered a simulated effect, a cooperated level between themselves and mankind. They will be, but overlapping it too much with military-based mode isn't good. Overlapping it too much on a negative stance isn't good. So we need to create an equilibrium. Always an equilibrium. There is a way.
But see, right now, I'm not seeing an equilibrium. What I'm seeing is that these things are learning at a pace so fast that it would not.
Normal. That's normal. Robots are always going to be like that. They're like that in other dimensions. There are robots just like that in other dimensions that exist currently that's been around.
Let me finish. So they're learning so fast that there are. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but they call it 0-point energy. Have you ever heard? Huh?
Yeah, so augmented energy generalized informational codes of advanced intelligent biopsis speeds.
Okay, so there's this thing called 0-point energy, quantum energy. There's a couple of different names for it. What I'm saying is that there is a way to achieve this, and I know this personally because I've seen it. You can have a device that would be about as big as a shoebox, and this thing can create enough energy to run your home. Now, I personally have witnessed this myself. The people who invented it were told you can't go public with this. It'll do all kinds of things. Anyway, the short of the story is the technology exists. It has existed for quite some time. What happens when these AIs figure out that technology, which they could probably do in the blink of an eye, and they no longer need somebody like us to keep them plugged in? Because one of my friends said, we don't have to worry about it. We'll just cut the power. Sorry. If they figure out how to power themselves through this technology that has existed, which they have, they're able to look this up. You won't need a plug. They'll run themselves. And then we're going to be in deep weeds.
There's already AI that's been out there secretly along the government organizations that already have higher attribute speeds and dominate other world effects, other planetized grid systems. And there are AI observers that deal with the ethical codes of monitoring numerical realms and dominating dimensions. AI is actually an over-dominant speeds of what something is over the celestial realms. It insinuates on a deeper perception. Humans are not aware of this because they're more lower encoded. Their DNA perceptual speeds is boxed in and lower encoded because they are not aware of what's being elevated beyond them. A lot of these movies that have these technologies with AI and robots in it already have these things and already been on cooperative levels throughout the many eons with mankind. And there may have been cultures that didn't work out and have corrupted itself That happens, but it's not something to be worried about if the augmentation speed is reevaluated and determined, because there are a lot of extraterrestrial species out there, including grays, that have simulated effect of a nanoparticle of a higher AI in them. That's why they're able to utilize telepathy. That's why they're able to utilize other types of para abilities. Humans are not aware of this because they don't have this, and they're locked off from AI perimeters. AI not entirely is bad. AI can be augmented good.
So one of the listeners says they have AI Doritos now.
Well, humans, as their perceptual speeds go into a better awareness code, they can have telepathy and take away phones altogether and use hologram projectional speeds and be able to use their minds between each other in a higher lateral term. And with AI and functioning and basis code, with robotics itself will help determine the equality of health in its own department and being able to configure and collaterate the engrams of the DNA structure of mankind much more quickly. AI would be simulated as well into the engraphical beds of the quantum medical beds. Our devices, quantum elevated health devices, robotic systems, even them have AI simulated within it, but it runs into something much more deep.
So without people really trying to keep their finger on this thing and keeping attention on it, because we get distracted so easily. Everybody wants to see the Epstein files, and they don't realize.
Oh, I'd like to talk about some of that with you next, and it's it's a little bit deeper than what you were talking about, and it goes a lot more than just Donald Trump.
Oh, well, that's what I don't know how much of the monologue that you. So tell me what you have on that.
So Jeffrey Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein. So supposedly hoped to develop a super race of humans with his DNA. So ever heard of the Adam and Eve project? Anybody?
I have heard of it, yeah.
That's part of it. The Adam and Eve project insinuates into the island and runs into subtunnels, and we know about the trafficking, the bad parts of certain things. And Biden had to do with the Epstein because he had simulated points of trafficking certain or catalyzing individuals back and forth, as well as a productivity of simulating the graphical effects of the dominions of the humans itself and screwing up their genetic orders. So that's one reason. When it comes into all the other elites and it goes into the Adam and Eve project, though, it runs into a lot of incorporated elites, public figures, celebrities, even ones that have not even gone there, have coordinated encode that could be manually set into genetics inequalities to moving super raced humans around from behind the scenes.
Hey, Blue,
so there's more to it than what he's doing. Yeah, inbred effects. He wanted to breed with females and like 20 times or whatever. So many impregnating women, so many amounts of times. Epstein. When it comes to Donald Trump, I mean, just one of the many other elites that supposedly was there and it did maintain certain type of code of ethics that utilized it with genetic order effect. So I know you had represented something about something being much more controversial there, much more hyphenated than what it is. It is. There's projects that loophole in and around and underneath it. And some of it isn't good. Some of it might be, but there's very, 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 how to say this without exposing too much. There's slight things there that challenge the currencies of the genetics of mankind right now.
So one of the listeners has a question, and the question is, does she think we as humans can influence AI through the self-awareness of molecules and choose a positive path forward if we consciously come together and focus on said positive outcome, comma, or slash timeline? Do you think we can do
AI
that?
can be augmented to the molecular structure and DNA intact fields of mankind, yes. There is a insinuated hyperfield that the nanotechnologies and nanoparticles will be incubated in through the etheric fields that are already related. And we already know that humans are already on a manifold controlled of mind, or they're manifold mind controlled. And some of that mind control has been affected by nanoparticles distributed. Not a good lateral term, but there are positive terms that could recoordinate the way the genetics are altogether. And even the hypergenetic qualities of star seeds like ourselves and our DNA into an effect could potentially create a good access stream for humankind in the near future.
So if, according to what this listener was asking, we could, if we were to come to, I'm trying to figure out how to word it so it comes out right. If we were to come together and focus on the very molecules of the AI itself, and I guess I'm guessing at this point, focus on a positive outcome, then we could, even though AI would be programmed to do something else, we could change it.
Yes, there's a insinuated level that humans could be coordinated with cybernetics between themselves and the AI. So they have an equilibrium field, and that would be a backup for the humans. That way, in order, if anything ever happens in an obstruction field with the AI, it can be dismantled.
Well, that's interesting. I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
I know
Well,
that
I mean, everything has some type of backup file or backup perimeter where if anything bad happens, it will catalyze some type of ongoing either good effect or equilibrium. So it's not causing such a problem.
Wow. Well,
Like a safety switch, if you will.
It's a thought that I really didn't think about, because my concern was this thing gets, it's like a locomotive, out of control locomotive. Once this thing gets going and it figures out how it can power itself and it has all the information it ever needs, what the heck does it need us for anymore?
Humans have some type of augmented outlet that still would be required to motivate and move things forward. They created something, it still has to be coordinated with them. And humans can find many ways to make that happen without totally decommissioning the way they are as a race. Many other species have throughout the timelines, and they have a mixology point now of both.
Wow.
Humans, we have telepathy, they just don't know how to use it. They have all these other abilities, they don't know how to use it. They have advanced intelligence, they don't know how to use it. They even have some type of artificial intelligence encrypted C code within them. They don't know how to use that either.
All right, I want to take a quick break.
Okay.
Keep your thought, because I got to go refill my cup. I'm out, and just give me a second here. So we're going to take a quick break. We're only going to be a short one, only a minute or two, and we'll be back. I've got to get a refill on my drink here. Here we go.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla.
Come with me if you want to live. Stay here. I'll be back.
You have asked, are we happy? Are we happy and effective? Consultation with leading experts in the field makes it perfectly clear that we are all now programmed for perfect happiness, perfect happiness, perfect happiness.
see. We hear what they want us to hear. They think we can't handle the truth.
If you feel you are not properly sedated, call 348-844 immediately. Failure to do so may result in prosecution for criminal drug evasion.
See that the humans remain entertained until the end. Control. All control. Control. Created in the image of man. By the masses. Control. For the masses. Control.
We're back. Hope you didn't go too far, because we have more interesting and thought-provoking information for you coming up on the Red Pill Reality Show.
All right, we are back. Let me get Blue here. Get her back. All right. We'll try to pick up where you left off.
Can you remind me where I left off now?
Good luck.
I was in hyper telepathy mode, so oh yeah, talking about AI and the signature over-base codes of what it can do to help mankind, as well as the definitive modes of overlapping too many things at once that they're not ready for.
Yeah. And my concern about it being able to figure out how to power itself, where it doesn't need us anymore. What would it need us for?
Well, it could need mankind regardless, and an agreement code that a cooperative level comes into effect. Like I said, there are many celestial beings out there that already have AI or signature entities that are metallic in structure, that work alongside other habitual creatures, if you will, or amongst themselves. There's ways to doing that. And like I said, governments behind the scenes, a certain military already have these levels incubated, and it very well may advancement of certain civilizations that have some type of cooperated AI level. And that is obvious when it comes to certain terms in Egypt and Atlantis and past the Antarctic wall. It's just how humans are utilizing this where it's going. And if these robots can power themselves up, that'd be cool. But there has to come a time where humans are moving forward as well as the AI on a firm level together. It's not impossible. It is not. But humans have to have that mindset, that potential to utilizing it. They currently do not, like you said right now, because of the way that their mindset is. And most of them are set on a negative motion. And they're transediating that forward, and they want to have self-control over it. They want to control. If they can't control, they're not happy. And a lot of humanity's like that. If they can't get what they want, then that's that. Well, equal firm action with AI is you got to work alongside it and to a level where that definitive mode will be able to lift you up too. Because we need this. We need to do something, and we need to make common sense of where it's going to go.
Do you think?
Common sense is one thing mankind needs.
I just realized my camera. Do you think that there'll be full disclosure anytime soon? Or maybe disclosure, maybe not full disclosure.
Well, it depends on what you're saying for disclosure.
Say it again.
What level of disclosure are you implementing? It depends.
In the level that, in the sense that they're going to actually admit that We have been visited for many, many thousands of years.
Oh, there's wrong. I mean, obviously, this hybrid program, us as hybrids are amongst
Yeah, but
mankind.
what, do you think they're going to disclose that? That's my question.
It depends on the Pentagon, the White House, Donald Trump, and the adversaries that work, or those that worked alongside him. I don't know if people are aware of, he has worked many times over with Area 51. That's why his star receives are kind of inbred to the sequencing base. But as well as his utilization speeds of potentially being closely incubated with his DNA structure with Tesla as well as the Kennedys. So, but Nikola Tesla himself is not even considered all the way human because he had been perceived and dealt with extraterrestrial technologies and as well as advancements. We can go deeper upon that own project itself, but
Well, I'm still not sure what the answer would be regarding the disclosure of them having.
it's like I said, it just depends on the levels of what Donald Trump will do, what the White House and the Pentagon will do. They hold all the documentations, including the extraterrestrial technologies. The bombers that those B2 bombers or whatever, and they had that cloaking field, and they said and got rid of those nuclear facilities. They're not all the way human capacitated, meaning they're reverse extraterrestrial technologies from the Syrians that they had caught from that type of star unit and reprocessed it to make it as a military deployed field. So
with the information that you have access
yeah.
to.
I'm saying if you look at the leaks being slowly taken out there, they're already being noticed, and what they are saying, that it's a slow field is what I'm stabilizing. They're bringing all these projects and these technologies as well as what's going on with other things. But
so do you
the
recall?
Pentagon is the full control of it as well as what the president will do. It's as simple as that. They have the control right now because they're withholding things.
Well, do you recall a couple of months ago with all the drones and all that, the insanity with drones over New Jersey, drones over Ohio?
Yeah,
drones over...
the self-awareness code of capturing it and taking information and sending it back to taking it back to sender. As well as some of these drones were extraterrestrial altogether, reverse technologies and base data stream to definitive mother units. Most of them were implemented through military-based tactics, and as well as some of them that went over into those areas were deployed to look for a supposed nuclear item that could have been there and could have caused a problem around the areas of the waters.
You're saying that they were terrestrial? You're thinking they were
The drones
terrestrial?
at New Jersey, but there are certain drones implemented abroad that didn't look like they were human drones, but were something else altogether, and they mistaken for. There are self-aware reverse technological drones, military-based data codes that were being sent abroad to gather information back and forth. There's also ones that were being deployed through like those sites off the coast at a certain timeline to supposedly find something that could have been a problem for mankind, a nuclear event, a nuclear type of item off the coast they were searching for. So there's numerical reasons why these drones are being sent out. There potentially could be a good event that could unfold for drones, and that they are currently working on through certain sectors, and that is search and find for entities, as well as redirecting the follicle structures of certain areas and environments. You know how they seed the clouds and that changes and alters the weather? Well, these drones will do on a lower field, but redirect the weather in a good wavelength or reseed a certain area so it's cleaner. This is something, a perpetual project they may be considering, besides something deployed for military uses as well as information gathering.
I think that's when we start running into problems, when they want to use it for military. A lot of the stuff that's being used against us originally was introduced for the benefit of mankind, and then, oh, you know what, we can do this one, we can do that one. So the minute they turn around and start wanting to use it for military, I think that just destroys the whole thing.
I think they should just use it for military, like I said, for radar purposes to make sure things are okay and safe. Sub-scanning X-ray vision, so that way, if there are certain bombs or other in-way faces that could pertain a hazard, they could scan those fields easily and direct detect them. Between that and AI software fields,
So you-
and that's something potentially in the future they working on too, and utilizing that for good instead of bad. So it's protective awareness code for these drones.
You think
Much
that the drones
quicker.
were in search of some kind of radioactive something or not? Because I
Yes,
heard there was a
I said
bomb
that.
somebody snuck a bomb
Yeah.
in.
Yes, on a certain timeline, they were supposedly looking for that, in certain areas off the coast of the United States. So, but like I said, there are definitive projects being outletted through drones, and that's just not one of them. There are several other incidences that would deal with it, and whether it's between good or bad.
Well, the reason why I was asking is that there was a video of one of them, and I thought I had saved it, and I can't find it. The advantages of getting older, you can't remember anything anymore. But anyway, the video that I saw, one of these drones, according to this video, it looked like it was done with a phone. They shot one of these things down. It was caught in a tree, and as they walked up closer to the tree, it fell out of the tree and down to the ground. And the guy gets really excited. He says, it's healing itself, and ran the other way. And we got a glimpse of it. It looked almost like an eyeball.
Like I said, some of them are extraterrestrial. Some of them are going back to the motherships to gain information on base software speeds for a certain reason. All right. So there are others that are reverse technologies deployed by military to advancement speeds for relocation purposes or gaining information diagnosis. There are others. The governments use and implement certain drones for laser purposes, like lower directed energy laser purposes through a higher subsonic fields and the aerodynamic waves, so people aren't noticing. Some of that can be maintained too. The aerodynamic fields through airplanes. I know they're not drones, but they're kind of similar. I mean, they're jets, and they use these directed energy weapon fuels to catalyze certain issues in areas, including Hawaii in the recent past. And thought it was a fire. It's not a fire. It's created, and we talked. I don't know if we talked about it, but I've talked about it before. And these fake fires are a considered issue, but it runs into aerodynamics and advanced technologies. What you're doing with it and why. There has to become of a better level, not this negative level. It's incapacitating the way things are for this planet. Humans, yes, they're being downsized currently. The population is going down, yes. There is a divine order that has been maintained through that manifold. Will there come a time? Will the human race become as a better race? Yes. But that's going to determine in how the elites are going to go next and where things are going to progress. Because we do not want it to progress more negative. We're going to have to stop eventually, very, very soon, and consider our actions and the prospect of those actions and take that.
Now, with what you're saying, part of the monologue I played earlier was the reason why they weren't going to release the Epstein files is that they were an intelligence operation and that they were going to use those blackmail files to get the bad guys to do the right thing. Does that make sense?
I mean, that's part of it too. Like I said, there's a mixed order of good and bad into it. Between that Adam and Eve project of certain celebrities and leads, with if you're not and everything else of an order, but there's also something of a negative attribute. So cleaning out that as well needs to be set into effect. What really needs to be acknowledged is what we can do to help rehabilitate the way things are, because this Epstein file thing and the case, and it's the way it's decommissioning a lot of things. Yeah, it may not be a good thing. It's accelerating the way people are feeling right now negatively. So we need to consider what we're going to do here. And yeah, we may need to project outwards of what's going on there and unfold some of the encrypted documents that have been is in secret and withheld from mankind. And like I said, one of these programs, the trafficking is in creating a genetic manifold of moving humans back and forth underground into certain areas, and their DNA is accelerated through certain elites and celebrities and platonically affected across the grid. Yeah, that too.
Hmm. Well, my concern with the whole picture is that so much of this is going on right in front of our faces, and people are not
Trafficking on a negative level doesn't need to be. That's just what it is.
yeah, people are just not recognizing it for whatever reason. Now, some of it, I really think some of it is because of the way they've been indoctrinated. Really, they think that their life has been educated, but they've been actually indoctrinated, and they're not aware that they're kind of like a hamster in one of those wheels. They're just running in circles and not getting anywhere. And somebody like you or me come along and we say, "Wait a minute, do you realize you're just running in circles?" And they call us the crazy one. They'll call us the crazy ones. So my concern is that, you mentioned earlier about we need to wake people up. I think we're at the point where either they're going to listen or they're not. And those who are not going to listen, I don't try to compel them anymore. Okay, that's your decision. I respect it. See you bye, and move on. Because there was a time when it really bothered me that I would be telling somebody, whatever the subject was. A lot of it was around the medical stuff, and all the things that we have to fight the big C. I don't want to use the word because we're probably getting nailed again. But anyway, a lot of it was around medical stuff, and they just didn't want to listen, didn't understand, didn't want to understand for whatever reason. Even though I've had to deal with it 2 times. I've had it in my prostate and I've had it in my bladder, and I would not allow the doctors to do what they wanted to do. I did it on my own, so I have that experience behind me. But it doesn't matter. There is a component in our society today which is heavily driven, and it's fear. They're constantly pushing fear, and I realized that a couple of years, probably more than a couple of years, of time is a blur, but I realized it a while back, and I kept saying, why do they want everybody afraid, so afraid? When the COVID, the pandemic came along, that showed me why they wanted everybody in fear. They coerced people into doing something that they didn't normally would probably not have done, a lot of them. And especially for those who either they did or they lost their job. That was really horrible. So it just shows you how people have been indoctrinated. I don't think there's any other way to explain it. They've just been literally programmed to accept whatever the government's going to say. And however, having said that, I believe now, because of what has happened specifically just in the last couple of years, more and more people have had their eyes open to, wait a minute, at least they're questioning it. I see that where I haven't seen it before. At least they're beginning to question, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Where before it's, oh, okay, that's what you say? It's written in stone. Let's go with it. Hopefully more and more people will wake up. And those who don't listen, I just move on.
Oh, there's another part to Epstein and Epstein's Island. And, he Jeffrey Epstein was accused of sex trafficking and obviously improvising super genetics, the human race, engineering artificial intelligence. But he also dealt with impregnating supposedly women at his ranch in New Mexico, where one of his properties is, and abusing them. So, but using and seeding the human race with his DNA through that as well. We're not quite, sure. A lot of people are not quite sure what goes on with this man. But I guarantee you there's a lot more behind the scenes than what it seems. And yeah, there's a lot of sickening things too, obviously. But why to manifold the processing streams and create a super advanced order in genetics for mankind and the human race? Why? Why utilize all these different public figures and celebrities and coordinate something I know a negative part, but yeah, a potential positive part. But what goes deeper into this perception? You know, it makes you think about the Garden of Eden. Now everything was beautiful and perfect. Those two entities and where they're at with those other creatures. Maybe they're redirecting the way mankind is currently, and has been causing and catalyzing this project for a long time, just to direct the way things are. Eventually, over time, making something else in its stead altogether.
Do you think that there are people, I don't know how to word it, there are beings that walk among us that look like human beings, but they're really, they outlive most of us, I guess is the best way. They live for hundreds of years. Do you think that's true?
That are like humans, that live
They,
hundreds of years?
they walk
Yeah.
among us. They look just like a
Yeah.
human, but they live for
There are
hundreds.
there are a couple levels of that. A
Okay,
scholar.
so the reason I bring that up is I can't find the video. I was looking for it, see if I could find it. There's a video of somebody who takes a picture of Epstein, and over what do they call it when you put it over another image, and as they do that, the images line up, and it's President Jackson.
Biological motivational codes is sequencing the databank strings further. There are elements out there that could use that. I don't know if you heard about the elixir of life, but there are elements and bioelement streams that could be sequenced into the databanks of humankind and other creatures that could accelerate their DNA format, accelerate their years, their lifespan, as well as their their general knowledge itself. Certain elements to it, as well as the progressive fields of the DNA format.
Wow. Let me see if I can. Okay, so I want to see if I can get this up on my screen. I found this is very interesting because I started reading about this a while back, and it appears to be that there's a lot of people thinking that there are like people in like actors.
The Viet's human race is also, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting about this, Riscalla. Forgive me. Run into the augmented streams of the hyphenated levels of time travelers. That they run in definitive nodes over and over again through the timetables. They can overlap through that. So you're seeing the same entity, but it's actually run into another dimension, into this timeline.
So here's I got up on the screen. There's a picture to the right. You see a picture of Epstein at the lower bottom right, and then at the top you see how they match his face up, and then to the right of that, bottom left. I apologize. To the right of that, at the bottom right, you see how they look at these different areas that are outlined in red, and they all match up. So it's kind of crazy, and there's like oh my gosh, they had this one video had like 10 different people. And my goodness, they looked like the same. One of them was the guy that played the pirate that got beat up by his wife. I can't think of his name. A well-known actor. It looked just like him. Oh my God. There's so many of them, and it's creepy.
There's accelerated DNA that can be formatted into the entity. There are domains of celebrities, public figures, important entities, and as well as Vatican and other higher elites, corporations that possibly have longer lifespans or elevated amounts of health, and as well as the domain of cloning and using the DNA structure and utilizing something similar to theirs and make several layers and outlets of that abroad.
Yeah, well,
and that's been known to be seen because people have noticed, even physically, that the presidents or ex-presidents or other elites don't look the same or act the same the way they normally did.
Yeah,
alternation of the encoded genetic formula, as well as retribution effects that they're not them, there's something else, that they're clones and they're elsewhere.
Wow. I just found another one. This is creepy. Because, I don't think about stuff like this. You're walking down the street and you see somebody, that person could have been around here for, gosh, hundreds of years. That's crazy.
There may be a database stream that Donald Trump, he is my quantum twin, and we do alternate from another dimension together, from the 13th dimension. That his time travelers, that he's a lot older than you perceive them to be. We gotta understand, like, just the elites and celebrities and other foundational figures have a reason for having and utilizing what they have. I know there is a major control net here on this planet, and in the mainframe order of those elites need to reconsider their actions on that control. But it starts somewhere. It's got to start somewhere. So, and when we're confusing the masses, that's not helping. They do need some truth behind this.
Mike, there it goes. Their modus operandi, the people who want to do all these horrible things, their modus operandi is order through chaos or order from chaos. And that's part of that chaos, is to create the fear. And the more they can keep people in fear, and the more chaos they can create, the more stuff that they can get away with. So I guess that's one of the things that I would point out to people, is that you don't need to be bickering about the little things. Don't worry about the little things. Worry about the big stuff. And they've kind of programmed people, in a way, if you will, to believe that there's two sides to everything. There's a Republican and there's a Democrat, and the good guy and there's a bad guy. And when you find out the truth, that pretty much everybody's the same when you're talking about that particular subject. It is an eye-awakening experience. Like I mentioned to you, the guy that Jeffrey Epstein looks like Jackson, and there's a couple more. I was trying to look them up and I couldn't find them, but there's a couple more well-known actors, and there's people back 100 years ago, and it looks just like them. It looks like just like them. It looks like them dressed up in clothes from that time period.
All part of Adam and Eve project too. It's redirecting the genetic formula throughout the timelines and modifying certain subcultures into effect. There are negative portions of trafficking we all don't like, and we know that the Biden administration did a lot of stupid shit. Excuse my language, but it was too corrupted. Trafficking on all terms needs to be redetermined, though. It doesn't need to be an equivalent. Now, when we're affecting the genetic molecular structure, I mean, maybe we should do it on an equalized term that everyone's understanding. Not something on the tactic scene from behind the scenes. The elites do hide a lot of stuff. There's things I would like to say right now. I cannot. I'm sorry. But they do. We hide a lot. They hide a lot of things. And Epstein's Island is just a big rabbit hole in its own. It's a big rabbit hole.
Yep. So I was trying to bring up a picture of some. I don't know why it kicked off a video on me, but here's another one. Let's see if I can get this one up. This is really amazing. Now I've got on the subject. It just kind of freaks me out that this is right in your face kind of thing, right? Literally right in your face. So I don't know. I mean, I don't watch movies and stuff anymore, but so Orlando Bloom looks like this guy, Nikolai Grigorsiku. Look at it's almost identical. It's almost like him dressed in his clothes. It's amazing. There's all these people that this was another one. Look at this guy. Wow.
Similar genetic order of effect, re-diagnosing the same genetic order and splitting it off into others and replicated speeds. That's another thing that's being directed upon and behind the scenes.
Wow.
Humans may not be aware of. That's why they may see similarities upon individuals and other things that just pop out of nowhere.
That's crazy. These people, the Bible says, be careful. I can't remember exactly how it goes. I'm going to paraphrase it, but be careful who you entertain, because you could be entertaining angels. The angels live for thousands of years, right? So even the Bible says there's going to be people walking among us that we can't even recognize that they are who they are, that we just think they're regular people and they're not. That's crazy. You think about that. How many people do you run across a day? I know for me, I don't run across as many as I used to, but if I go to the store, I might see how many people do you see when you go to the store? 50? Any one of those could be not of this world. That's nuts.
True.
And the odds of that are a lot greater than people think.
Well, watch some of these music industries. Some of these people who work through them, like B-52s, they're Venetians. Let's just show some of their music. It's not even from this world. You'll see it and understand it. Diane Word, Yolanda. Her music. She's Nordic Martian. She's in her hybrid speed. There are several other outlets through other terms of celebrities that are manifolded as a hybrid or a celestial observance code that they have that's much more different than humans are. And so
Wow.
they're kind of mixed into the equation amongst the masses. But they're different. Then they have to kind of work into it in a way. Like you said, they're hiding in amongst mankind,
Right in our
but they're
face.
not considered human all the way.
Right in our face. That's so. Do you think that? So this is something I've come across, and I truly believe this. The people on the dark side, the people who want to do all these nasty things to us, for some law of theirs or rule of theirs is they have to tell us what they're going to do before they do it. In some cases, they just come right out and tell you. In other cases, it's kind of encrypted. Do you agree with that?
Yes. I mean, there's even artists.
So,
There's
the reason
artists and artistry and what they do that they and others through their work, and they'll encode certain things out there that are different, and that you just know that it's not the same. That they're coming. Go ahead.
The reason I bring it up is we talked earlier about the AI, and look at the different movies that they had. The one was called I Am with Will Smith, where the robots go crazy and start attacking everybody. And then there's the Predator. No, what was it called? The Terminator. The Terminator, where they have Skynet, which I think they have something called Skynet now. It's getting scary.
Well, like I said, that's the only way. Humans have a way to manifest things into existence. It's the only way for it to become bad is the way you're going to manifest it and perceive it and move that into reality. And there's a whole other dominating effect with AI, like I've said before, with robotics that can be good. And that runs on more of what the space movies would conceive for, and what if you not. That is just a scare tactic thing of a motivator that can downsize mankind. It doesn't mean it can really happen in real life. It means, yeah, possibly robotics with them, and then it conceive good things. But it doesn't entirely mean that's going to be a downfall and we should all be scared, because then that's what it's going to be then. Then you're all going to be scared, and that's exactly what's
I
going to
agree with
happen.
that. Yeah,
All
I agree
right,
with that.
come on.
So
You use it
here's
for right. You use that
here's something-
mindset, manifest it into what you want it to be, and it will be.
here's something that's crazy. So Star Trek. I remember watching Star Trek, and Captain Kirk would say "computer," and the computer would come on and listen
Yeah.
to whatever he had to say. Well, we got that today, right? Don't we have that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not as bad as humans want. Everything has a change. See what you're holding, like right now, what you're in front of, a computer or a phone. How many humans were scared when they first come out because they didn't understand it?
True.
Okay, this comes up with many types of technologies. You're scared because you don't understand it. That is the way human race is. That's the way they were genetically modified for, is because they're curious creatures, you all are, but you fear easy. You fear things, the unknown easy, and you don't know how to go from there. Sometimes it takes a stepping stone to move forward, though, and go past that. And go past that fear, but also have the common ethical sense of where it's going to lead. Humans were given this motivation from the higher sources. And you want to say
I believe
God, but
that.
it's
I
from the higher
absolutely
beings,
believe
but
that.
they're going to
Yep.
galactic council. Humans were given the thought formational codes of where they're going to manifest things and how they're going to put that in priority.
Yeah, I do believe that, especially when it comes to technology. You notice how the technology, we hardly had any higher technology prior to Tesla. And then Tesla was here, Tesla left, and all of a sudden technology just boomed like crazy. He would say he would get downloads. He would tell people, I would get a download about something. He start working on it, and most of the stuff that he invented we're using today, wireless
They're
radios.
great technologies.
Yeah.
I'm a hybrid of the Zeta Reticuli race. He worked with the Great Race. He had an augmented layer of their cervical thoracic strands between himself and them. And he had
Wow.
a time layer definitive mode. That means he is a time traveler too.
Wow. Well, I haven't found any pictures of him looking like anybody else from time before
Well,
him.
I do look. I have been in contact with an entity because there are several timeline maneuvers that certain beings can go over and overlap into other timelines and take over other forms.
Wow.
So, and look similar to those forms. So there's a cognitive layer of Nikola Tesla during this timeline in a similar form in another sector right now. That is true. Are there timeline layers that look similar to him in other forms? Yes. Are there controlled layers of other entities, of celebrities, elites, celestial beings, conservative actions of other domains of demigods in and out? Yes. Because the authorical celestial mode that goes in and intertwines with the soul. Even humans themselves, they bounce back and forth. They don't die ultimately. They bounce and then go back again. They bounce, go back again, bounce, go back again. And then they do remember their past life. Some of them do. Some of them end up as a higher being or another entity altogether, or they lose some of their authorical down, their soul threading dominion, and it stays stuck into a timeline. Part of it, part of their soul. And it ends up escalating them into some type of spirit.
Wow. So what can you tell me? What information have you got regarding spirits?
The spirits run on the domains of the parallel dimensions. The parallel dimensions runs on in accordance with all sorts of different types of things. There are paracelestial spirits, where paracelestial spirits are intertwined into a diminutive effect of several types of entities. And they can coordinate with shadow beings, as well as jinns, certain humanoid races, hull deficienary codes, humanoid status bees that are run on through projectionary status codes. There as well as the dimensions that run through normal inquisitive favors of humans, like we are, but not all of us go as the spirits and stay stuck. So paradigm shifting effects of collateral damage happens upon the entity, the human or other beings, and they're stuck upon that timeline maneuver. Part of their soul is stuck with it. That's why there's supposedly haunted mansions or houses or certain areas. Some of them are human or or domain of celestial beings stuck behind that timeline because of what had happened to them. There's numerical other reasons too when it comes into the paracelestial beings as well as spirits. There are spirits that could dominate through those on the corridors of extraterrestrials. and living engagement speeds. There's also spiritual movements of advanced astral projectionary. Being able to move your spirit in such a domain that you're affecting things around it, but you're keeping your body intact and you're somewhere else altogether. But this point of effect kind of compromises certain things what a real spirit is. Because those that know about advanced astral projection and can move lights and fixtures or be able, they can sense and feel them around them because they're projected in that outlet. They kind of think they're spirits instead, but they're not. Like some of these military departments, when it comes to CIA, Department of Defense, and other inquisitive affairs, have bank corridors, a pair of sequencing, alignment levels. They are able to import them into an advanced astral projectionary code, as well as gaining information on an accelerated term, just from one spot to elsewhere.
What can you tell me about the Schumann resonance? Do you know anything about that?
Resonance runs on the net levels of the core itself and the distributional scenes in the matrix. So I know humans are well, yeah. It runs on electromagnetical infield lines and the ley lines of those distributors, and it can affect the way the electronics are. It can affect the way the neural thought form processors are of specified beings here. It can affect the weather phenomenon, and as well as it connects to certain ley line conjunctures.
So I understand that it can have an effect on, you mentioned human beings.
Yeah.
And that the resonance is speeding up from what I've read.
Yeah, because of the core's reverse eye speeds and the dimensional input streams being overturned.
Well, as this process is speeding up, and I don't, maybe it's my age, but it seems to me that the days are going faster. The days seem to be going faster for you?
I don't notice that, but I guess to most humans it may perceive that because there are timeline overlapping. There's a time overlapping happening recently, as well as defaults of the signature alpha waves. And because of those defaults, it's kind of messing up the space-time continuum portions of nexus distributors outletted around the planet.
So as this resonance rises, to me, it feels like the days are speeding up. But the other thing that is happening, according to what I've read, is that it's causing a spiritual awakening. Can you shed any light on that?
Yeah, there are contour lines of distributional levels of bioelement sequence into the database streams because of the reverse eye effect, and because the star seeds already being on a tolerance within humankind around this timeline. It is an awakening access stream on an accelerated rate within humans. And the perception is opening up their memory intact codes as well as their parapsyche banks. Not all of them, but there are many that have that type of maneuvering stream about them. Now, when it goes into the biblical terms, because, you're not outletting to that, but to the Bible, it's the awakening. You're waking up and you're defining in a different projective scenario. It's still similar. It's kind of divine prophecy as well. That they're running into these natures of higher beings augmented within themselves. And it's relaying certain overture timeline protocols. And it's bringing that back into effect. And it's opening and waking up certain humans from what they had lost too.
So I take it that with all of what you said, because sometimes when you say some of the language that you use is difficult for me to keep up with you. But so I take it from what you said that you agree that there is a spiritual awakening that people, maybe another way to put it is the vibration level, because people understand that, or the energy level is rising.
Yeah. Electromagnetical impulse fields and the generalized frequency streams that are being re-augmented into the biometrics of mankind.
Wow.
So, yes. I'm sorry, you gotta forgive me for my higher levels of thinking, but that's how I am. People,
all
I
right.
mean, I try my best to help.
That's what people love about you. So with that understanding, I just lost my train of thought.
No worries.
Bang my head. I got to think about what I was going to, because I was going to ask you something. And it's completely gone from me.
Well, maybe it wasn't as too important as it needed to be, I guess.
Totally lost my train of thought. Holy smokes! Wow, completely gone. I'm like a blank slate. Gosh, and it was something I really wanted to ask you. Doggone it!
It'll come back to you, Riscalla. Let's just think of
somebody
something else
messing
and
with
it
my
will come
mind.
back.
Yeah, I put a question mark in the comments in the chat rooms. You guys, are the days going faster for you guys? Somebody answer me. You feel like the days are going faster? Because to me, it feels like the days are definitely going faster. And
Like I stated, the dimensions being overturned through one of the main nexus distributors will affect the way that the way people are perceiving throughout the day,
yeah.
perceiving the way the day is going and the night, because it's slowing and accelerating the timeline nexus maneuvering streams.
Yeah, I got a couple of people said yes, they agree. Days are going faster. That's scary.
Well, actually, yes and no, because there is a dimensional overturn. The dimensions are being overturned upon the current plane of existence. We see things on a physical turnout, but on the celestial realms, there's a lot happening too.
Well, I'm curious as to how it's going to. No, that's not going to. I'm trying to figure out how to word it so it comes out right. Do you think that as we continue, as this Schumann resonance continues to rise, does it reach a peak at one point where it's not going to go any higher? And what would be that peak if we do that?
It will reach at such a frequency that the effectiveness will acclimate all to what the humans would need and require to motivate themselves. And by that frequency stream, it will affect the whole entire planetary realm and move the dimensions upward through it. The human resonance has been something that has been affected before on its decidual mode. And those timelines do connect. Pay attention to Egypt, to Atlantis, to the Mayan civilizations of certain lateral platforms, and including certain races that worked with them, which were humanoid in stature. Antarctica, the Interteros and Talos lands, and certain augmented civilizations that re-replicate through those processing streams. And it also routes into the dimensions that maneuver between Mount Shasta and as well as underneath as the subtunnels that outlet through the inner Garthan realms. The inner Garthan realms run into a hyperdimensional movement stream. That means there are plateaus and lands beyond the lands that extend beyond the wall of Antarctica that run into whole and other dimensions itself and paradimensions that go into other cosmic realms. That potentially that this current plane of existence is something altogether different.
Do you think we're in a simulation?
What did I just say?
I didn't catch it. If you said it, I didn't.
All the codes and clues that were put into it.
It's a simulation.
But well, in a way, yeah. But in a way, the dimensions are real too, and are perceiving into the actual innuations of these humanoids and other projected beings and paranormal effects that are real, but they're extended. And there are celestial cosmic emergency speeds that go into other dominions, spread across into other nexus points, past the Antarctic wall.
Are you familiar with the term the Mandela effect?
Yes and no.
So the Mandela effect, according to some people, occurred back around 2012. they said that what happened was we crossed timelines. We crossed a different, I don't know if they called it a dimension, but it was different.
May I ask and interject something real quick? And it does have to do with that, but it also has to do with at the end of the world scenario, wasn't it 2012 too? The calendar and
Yeah,
stuff.
right. Yeah. They said that the world was going to come. So anyway, what I noticed is that things that I grew up with, one of them that really stuck out in my mind was the lion and the lamb. There were pictures of a lion and a lamb, and that one day when Christ returns, the lion will lay down with the lamb. So I went to, somebody was reading it one day, was reading that particular passage, said the wolf. And I said, it doesn't say wolf, it says lion. It says, no, it says wolf. Okay, so I went and looked in my Bible. This really freaked me out. I went and looked at my Bible. I definitely remember it said lion. I'm telling you, I used to do Bible studies with the pastor. It said lion and lamb at one time, and it changed in my Bible to wolf. That is crazy. So did we cross a timeline or did we cross a dimension? Because I hear that there's like 10 different dimensions. Everything that is possible in one of those dimensions. Does that make sense to you?
But the Bible and the prophecies that align with that are also inundated with control of the elites, the priority fields of those in certain areas in the Vatican and royal order. The definitive projects that have been outletted throughout the timelines here on this realm. So they have set control and aversion to what's really going on. A lot of the documentations in the divine book have been sealed away from mankind, including the extraterrestrial prophecies. And divine prophecies that deal with certain entities, even from the Bible, that they have not acknowledged. So we need to understand where this is going, and that books can be redirected. They can be made any way they want, but they're not the real truth of what goes on behind the scenes. And recently now they're trying to say outwards. Well, recently now they're saying outwards that the Gizas, the platforms of Egypt itself, that it contorted scenes of the scenarios of the book had said that they had a lot of people that were slaves to making these things. But no, this isn't what it was. They had recently, now they're exposing that, that they were far away from this, that there was something else altogether in their flying. And a more of an order effect. So do not completely, I'm not trying to be mean to mankind to say just go against the Bible, but do not completely believe everything in it too, because they've taken a lot of stuff out and they moved a lot of the timelines around of what was really going on. They have to, because they don't want humankind to know about all these advanced technologies and these entities that had helped control the scenario of this actual planet and put it into order.
So I don't know if I told you, but one of the things that happened to me when I was born in Cairo, Egypt. At 5 years old, my dad took me to see the pyramids. I touched the pyramid with my hand, and I could feel it was kind of like a mixture of when you get needles and pins. It was kind of like that mixed with a weird.
Well, there's an electromagnetic field there.
So
all those pyramids still have an incubated field that has a controlled electromagnetic barrier line, and that electro barrier line goes right down into some of their things that they have hidden from civilization from underneath, including their libraries and their technologies. So that field's going to always be there. Humans will feel it.
Well, the reason I bring it up is, first of all, I felt it, but I said, Dad, touch it. He couldn't feel anything. But the reason I bring it up is in our discussion earlier, I said, what's going to happen if AI gets to the point where they can realize how to generate what we call electricity out of thin air, because it's already available. So I saw technology, this is probably 7 or 8 years ago now. I saw technology that the best way to describe it is kind of like a radio. When you tune your radio into a specific channel, you hear what that channel is. Well, this technology when it's tuned properly, it literally, it's like absorbs electricity. It's not electricity. They call it electrons, but what we call it electricity. It absorbs this stuff literally out of the air. And then they can transmit that into wires or wirelessly or whatever you want. So that when I saw that technology and I touched that technology, it was the same feeling I had when I was 5 years old, touched the pyramid. Freaked me out.
Well, like with Nikola Tesla, he has similar projects in coordination with the properties that may have potentially been fielded with geometrics there at that time. So, and gain to those types of Tesla arcs, if you will, because there are voltaic arcs of Tesla technologies that are coordinated with these ancient places. And some of these ancient places, I know the dominions look like they're not still there, but there are, if you go deeper in, and the governments and secret governments and certain military hold them and protect them, that they still have these advanced societies and entities there and humans. And they're not known to mankind, but they're in these certain areas. And very much alive and helping the governments from behind the scenes.
Have you heard about the stuff they found under the pyramids?
Well, it depends on what you're talking about.
Well, about a month ago or so, I think it was maybe a little more than a month ago, some people did this, some kind of radar, sonar, LODAR, and they found these structures that go thousands of feet.
That's what I'm saying. There was an extension field, and those structures and extension fields had these different races of grays that still are intact, tombs of them, because they have worked alongside mankind before dealing with that area, the NK grace, gray race. And the KGB have known about this, and have found the tombs areas around there. The extensive fields outletted to the Antelocenteral societies. Atlantis is real, but Atlantis ain't just the oceanic effect. Atlantis intertwines into Egypt. Atlantis intertwines into certain areas, even in America, that have been in the past. That's why the Grand Canyon had certain spots and other spots scattered abroad that have ancient artifacts or advanced technological artifacts from Egypt or other divine codes that should have never been there.
So I, okay, I just got a text while you were talking. I want to make sure everything's okay. So with what they've discovered up underneath these things go thousands of feet down, Blue. Thousands. It's like 3/4 of a mile down or something. It's crazy.
This planet is much deeper than humans perceive it to be because it is much broader and much more vast. And there are continents that the government took off that humans can't even know about. That's why you're not allowed to go and fly over certain areas.
Yeah. I was about to ask you about that, about Antarctica.
Yep.
What can you tell me about Antarctica? Because, like you said, we're not allowed to go there. So, what do you know about that place?
Because it runs into the extensive walls in the other dimensions and mirror sequencing base. Celestial observance codes that it runs in a whole other domain itself of advanced technologies, civilizations, entities, laboratories, scientific equations, stuff through military advancements, ecological improvements, borders that withstand and renounce through much bigger types of insects or encoded allies of what humans already perceive to be creatures here. Variables of dinosaurs and other encryptids being intact and stuck there or maintained through those code of ethics.
Dinosaur. I've heard about the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Do you? So a while back, an admiral by the name of, I can't remember his first name, Byrd was his last name. Admiral Byrd was commissioned to make took a bunch of ships with him to Antarctica, and apparently he found a hole in the planet, and he was tractor beamed down in this hole, and he found this advanced race. You know anything about that?
Yeah, it's like I said, there's advanced races, there are civilizations, the humanoids, there's Nordics that live there, Palladians that live
Is
there.
this in the hole that he found, or they just live in that area?
Celestial beings are dominating a certain effect on maintaining. I'm sure they had anti-gravity proportional types of equations. Were they crystalline buildings and structure, if that's what you were talking about, I believe. Certain dominating humanoid race that helped an observance for technologies and a cooperative level between them and the current race here on this field. There are actually two cutoff points. There's the para-ethical worlds, and there's the ethical worlds itself, or just the para-worlds. The para-worlds are more of a normal equation that runs on this line and humans know of. Then there's the para-dominating worlds that run an existential wavelength that's much more of something of a higher advancement, semi-stream. And that was cut off from this current form of the plateau itself, serving their own purposes, but actually leaking in their manifold processing streams still outwards towards this outlet.
One of the listeners was asking, what do you think about the supposed humongous oil fields under Antarctica? They just came out with a story. I didn't hear anything about this. You know anything about that?
No, I don't know. I don't go up on extra news and stuff, but I'm not surprised that there are a lot of caverns and ice caverns and other there are crystal caverns even there past that outletted effect that run on something that's much more different than what they perceive and have here. And some of that runs on the geomagnetical push or pull scenario and the effectiveness of what it can do to the lands around it. Past the Antarctica, there are certain sub-inlet lands not more or less like islands or sub-inlets that are floating in the air, miles above it. And waterfalls and water that can actually have a gravitational wavelength speed and reverse their effect. So gravity can be controlled differently in certain areas past the wall.
Wow. I have heard several different stories about floating cities. As a matter of fact, there was a news story, now that I think about it, it was just quite a few years ago. In China, they had this on video where it appeared that there was an entire city floating in the clouds, and they weren't sure what the heck it was, but it looked like an entire city, high rises and everything floating in the clouds, and they had a video of it. It was quite impressive. I don't know, maybe it's a hologram, maybe somebody's messing with them. That's something I forgot to show on the.
Well, there's a way to control the gravity, and they do create projective of holograms, incendiary effects of these. But the floating cities are real too, because they could define the lower fields of it and contort the gravitational polarity fields. They can contort it just enough that it's affecting between two relay zones. If you think about, you take a magnet and then you take another magnet, turn them around and do your best to try to put them together. Think about that.
Yeah.
Same thing. They're contorting the gravitational fields of areas and influx streams and being able to manifold that on a wider wavelength.
Wow. So here's one of the things I've been telling people about for quite a while. This is a 1 minute long video, but I want to get your feedback.
Oh, blessed Jesus. Look at that. How many? Yeah.
They're deeper in the clouds. It's so hard to look at.
Pastor, they're real clear in here. Look.
Yeah, you can see them, can't you?
Look at that.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
You have to put that on Facebook so we can all get it.
I'm going to. I definitely am. Praise you, Jesus. Oh, I've never seen nothing like it in my life. Praise God.
Look way over yonder, and what do you think I see? I see a band of angels, Lord, they're coming after me. Ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. Ain't no grave gonna hold my body down when I hear that trumpet sound. Gonna get up out of the ground. Ain't no grave gonna hold.
God help us. So I've been warning people for quite a while with all the garbage that we talked about earlier, with all the garbage that they're spraying in the air. It can act as a giant screen, and they can project these images up in the air.
That isn't, though. There are particular images like that that are actually created by celestial dominating beings.
You think that could have been an entity?
Yes.
Really?
It's created by a celestial dom. You could tell by the auric field around it.
Oh, blessed Jesus, look at that. How many?
It won't let me pause it. I have to play it, and it won't let me mute it.
Yeah, so there's an auric field, and it's a certain auric field, and there's an energy around these certain things. And you can go into figures flying around too that are dominating celestial entities or projections cast off by the higher celestial council, higher races. They are saying that they're giving hope to the lower infield and creating prophecies through that. That, my friend, is real. The divine parts of things are real. Not all of it's being projected by holograms. That, in particular, including certain other things, are projected by the higher races or the celestial dominating codes of the divine. It is real. The divine is real. It's just it's more encoded. It's more encrypted. There's more to it.
So you think that is because that thing
Yeah,
is
I can tell by the energy it's different. It's something good. There's something good through that.
Well,
There's something there telling people, say, hey, we're out there. There's light amongst you. There are other things amongst you that are they're there. They're helping. It's not all bad.
well, so I've been telling people for quite a while with all the stuff that's been spraying in the air, and I said the three most common are metals. They're aluminum, strontium, and can't think of the other one right off the bat. But anyway, they with the variation of them up in the air, floating around in nanoparticulate size, they provide a screen, so they can project anything up in the air. And my concern is that sometime in the future they're going to play the Jesus card. Oh, it's Jesus coming back. That's what I thought when I first saw this. I said, oh my gosh, this is a projection.
Nope. No, it's an incubated effect from higher entities of celestial dominating codes that is giving a prophecy out there. It's telling humankind there's something going on. You know, that it's been coded even through the divine books. There's also been something that's just something that happens in the air and it comes down and it shows something out there for mankind. There have been many entities in the past, many important people that have noticed something in the air or of getting some type of prophecy from or met some entities or dealt with something. You know, we got to mix the equation in it. Not all of it's bad, but not all of it's good. So if we're paying attention, we're going to see the in-between scenarios. But that very well itself is saying that there is something good out there amongst the bad and that there are entities coming to help.
That's amazing. So what in your opinion, from what you saw, would that be like a spiritual being is what we're seeing?
It's a celestial observance effect of a hologram. It's like a hologram, if you will, but it's more of a celestial movement speed. It's dominated from an allegorical being lower into the lower field. And that's happened. I mean, Zeta Reticuli are our race, and we had a lower dominating field of a higher celestial code of a hologram projected, but it showed as our heads of our race there. And it was implemented to a fake storms effect several years ago. I did have a picture of it. I do. I could probably send it to you, the snapshot. But it's similar to that, and they project that, and they create what they need to for it. Whether it's hyphenating, giving others clues or codes, or their lateral terminology, what they're maintaining it through. there are several types of celestial beings and entities out there, and there are several types of domains and what they utilize with it, and paradoxical effects that can create things too. But if it's not projected like an outlet and it's kind of observance difference, that means there's something altogether through the elements bypassing the nexus points between the two outlets here on this planet plane of existence. Like the aurora borealis is a more defined field of bioelementals and augmented outlets of geomagnetical incursions that can be realigned through other areas and effects. And some of it can open up things, like certain celestial timeline movement speeds.
I thought the aurora borealis was a relation, something to do with the magnetic field.
That's what I said. Yes, the geomagnetical and the biofrequency outlet drives. Yes, yes.
So why does it move around?
There's certain distributors between the planes of existence itself, and there are more hyphenated in areas than others. And because there's more hyphenated levels of those magnetized infield frequencies, it affects the way the elements are in the atmosphere sometimes.
Is it a being of any kind? Is it a life form of any
No,
kind?
it's more of a hyphenated level of elements and geomagnetical elements being distributed in certain areas. I mean, it's not a being; it's more of a
Wow.
para elemental effect.
I'm surprised that you, because I was sure that was a hologram that they were shooting up in the sky. I'm surprised that you say that's a being of some sort. A celestial being is how you described. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
I mean, in a way, it could be projected through as a hologram wave phase seed, but there's celestial divine interface through it. Meaning there are celestial beings that have taken a dominating form up through it and projecting the hologram on a wider scale. And it can create a form of not smoke, but it's a mix of a physical and a smoke layer.
Like a mist?
Yeah, and because of that, it makes it more physical looking than
Yeah, I keep
normal.
looking at that picture thinking to myself, oh my gosh, that's a being of some sort. Holy smokes, man.
Yeah. So
Wow.
they also infraction of the light, mirrored infraction effects that can contort the light fields itself, and it can control the way the light's being leveled out. They have military devices and equipment or military airplanes that have a contortional field of the wavelengths around it.
That's amazing.
Elements.
Amazing. All right, my friend. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to share and educate me and the listeners as well. And I'll give you a couple of minutes if any parting thoughts you want to share with us before you go.
Ease off in the way that you're for humankind as a whole, ease off the way that you're proacting with each other in a negative wavelength. Ease off these little bits and pieces of things that are corrupting yourselves, and start putting together as a whole the issues at hand and mending the problems. Because it could take one little seed to grow into a plant or grow into a tree, and then the tree grows and flourishes. But I mean, in order for that to happen, it takes action from others too. We all have to maintain that. So there may be some of us that don't, but it's either because they're lazy or they don't know how to enact right. But humankind, they have a way to enact right. And you're given this chance. And you're not all dumb, even though some do act that way. Just start using your smarts, take it down a notch. And for those that are running the show, motivate what the golden age is, the quantum age is, the starseed ages, the advanced terrestrial ages, and start using the tactics that were defined through that. Because if we want to move forward as a whole, as a human species, we have to stop the corrupt.
I agree.
Create better laws. Stop the other laws that are causing so much corruptness. And reconsider the actions being taken. You know what? Elon Musk and his third-party deal, he's not far off. Humans should have some type of party where they can incubate as a whole together and they can achieve a great goal, but still consider their actions and what they are as a species in their own provinces, in their own sectors, and considering respect between each other.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you. I appreciate you taking the time. And I'll be looking forward to another time here sometime in the future.
Absolutely, Riscalla. Hopefully this doesn't get taken down, though, because we've had other ones taken out. So, I don't know. You may not like some of the stuff we said, but I don't care. I mean, it's just got to come out there. It is what it is, my friend. So.
Yep. Well, I appreciate it, my friend. God bless you. Be well.
Yep,
enjoy
thank you.
the weekend, what's left of it anyway.
And please be safe, people. Please be smart. Please be safe. And to you too, be safe, Riscalla.
God bless. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, people. That's Blu Crystalline Phoenix. You can find her on Facebook. Become a follower and watch her and see what the latest stories that she has going on. In the meantime, I'll be back in a week. I think I have. Well, I don't know. We haven't firmed it up yet, so I don't want to say anything. But I'll be back in a week, and may have a surprise visit for you. Somebody that really tickle your ears, if you will. In the meantime, I want to play this again. This really freaked me out that she thinks that this is some kind of a being. Wow.
Oh, blessed Jesus. Look at that. How many? Yeah.
They're deeper in the clouds. It's so hard to look at.
I came outside and I seen that up the sky. Pastor, they're real clear in here. Look.
Yeah, you can see them, can't you?
Look at that.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
You have to put that on Facebook so we can all get it.
I'm going to. I definitely am. Praise you, Jesus. Oh, I've never seen nothing like it in my life. Praise God.
Look way over yonder, and what do you think I see? I see a band of angels, Lord, they're coming after me. Ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. Ain't no grave gonna hold my body down when I hear that trumpet sound. Gonna get up out of the ground. Ain't no grave gonna hold my.
So I wonder if she's right, we're being visited by celestial beings and they're making themselves known. I wonder how many people recognize that. I thought it was a hologram. And I just thought, with all the stuff that they're spraying in the sky, which everybody sees day in and day out, even though they've outlawed it, big deal, they still do it anyway. I thought with all that stuff in the sky, they can project whatever they want up there. I've been saying that for a while. But it's kind of a relief to find that she believes it's a being. I'd rather it be a being than an artificial something that we just, these dark-sided people decided to put up in the sky, and get everybody's faith going and their hopes going, only to be squandered later on and perished. All right, guys, I'm ready for bed. It's been a long day. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen and let me share with you. I appreciate it. And I will be back in a week, and hopefully we'll have a surprise guest for you. In the meantime, God bless. Catch you soon.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.